Before we get started, please like and subscribe. Let me know where you're watching from, and you can support the channel by clicking thanks or joining. Ethan Cole had always believed that the higher you lived above the ground, the safer you were from the world outside. That belief followed him through childhood and deep into adulthood, shaping the decisions he made and the places he chose to call home. When he moved into Ridgeway Heights, a towering apartment complex in the heart of the city, he felt proud of the new start he was crafting. His unit, 12L, came with a wide view of the skyline, clean white walls, and a sense of peaceful isolation he had long been craving after a difficult breakup. The first week passed quietly. Ethan unpacked boxes, arranged shelves, and settled into an orderly routine. Every night, he stood by the window with a cup of tea, staring down at the chaos of the streets below. Honking cars, flashing lights, and distant sirens all seemed muted from up here. Life could not reach him. Nothing could. That was what he believed, until the night something knocked on his window. It happened at 2:03 a.m. The sound was soft, deliberate, and far too intentional to mistake for wind. 3 taps, evenly spaced, almost polite. Ethan opened his eyes, certain the noise had come from a dream, but the room remained dark and quiet. The air conditioner hummed. The clock glowed faintly from the nightstand. Then it came again. 3 taps, directly beside him, on the glass. Ethan froze. His window stretched nearly 8 feet across. A single pane with no balcony, no ledge, no fire escape. Nothing, and he lived on the 12th floor. No one could be out there. Not a person, not an animal. Nothing had access to that glass except the sky and the wind. He sat up slowly, waiting for the building to settle or the pipes to cool, hoping for a reasonable explanation. But the knock returned, louder this time. It sounded like knuckles, firm, intentional. Ethan whispered to himself, "Someone is messing with me." He reached for the curtain but stopped halfway. A strange instinct told him not to look. Something about the rhythm of the tapping felt wrong. Too calm, too patient, as if whatever was on the other side knew he was awake and waiting for him to respond. His chest tightened. He grabbed his phone and turned on the flashlight. With a deep breath, he pulled the curtain open. The window was empty, nothing but the reflection of his room and the distant lights of the city. Ethan exhaled with shaky relief. That was when he noticed it, the faintest smear on the outside of the glass, shaped like the curve of a human fingertip. He stepped closer. Another fingertip mark appeared just beneath it. They were subtle, almost invisible, but undeniably human. His stomach twisted. Rain had not fallen for days. The window had been spotless when he moved in. He leaned in closer, examining the marks. They were positioned at a height that made no sense. Someone would have to float outside the building to reach this part of the glass. A sudden gust of wind pushed against the window, and Ethan jumped back, embarrassed by his fear but unable to shake the chill crawling up his spine. The city seemed far too quiet now. Even the usual sirens had disappeared. It was as if the world below had paused. Waiting for something, Ethan returned to bed but kept the curtain open. Minutes stretched into an hour. Just as his eyelids began to fall, the knock came again, louder, stronger. 3 taps, slow and deliberate. He sat up in a panic, his heart hammered against his ribs. This time, he forced himself to stand and face the window. A shadow moved across the glass. It passed by only for a fraction of a second, but Ethan saw it clearly. A dark shape gliding across the pane at an impossible angle, as though walking along the vertical surface of the building. He stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the edge of the bed. He blinked hard, trying to make sense of what he had seen. The shadow had no features, no edges, no form that made sense to the human eye. It was like a smear of darkness, a living silhouette that did not belong in the world he knew. Ethan whispered, "No, no, no, no." He rushed toward the living room, turned on every light he could find, and paced in tight circles. He tried to convince himself that he had imagined the shadow, that fatigue had warped his vision. He had been under stress lately. New environment, new job, new bills. Stress did strange things to people, but none of that explained the knocking or the fingerprints or the way the shadow moved with intention. Ethan did not sleep that night. Every hour, he returned to the bedroom doorway, staring at the window from afar, afraid of what he might see if he got too close. The darkness pressed against the glass as though watching him back. When dawn finally broke, the relief was overwhelming. The window glowed with morning light. The city resumed its noise. Cars honked. People rushed to work. Everything felt normal again. But as Ethan walked closer to the window, the pit in his stomach deepened. The fingerprints were still there, clearer now in the sunlight. More of them, as if someone had dragged their entire hand down the glass during the night. A cold dread settled inside him. Something had been on the outside of his 12th floor window, and it wanted to get in. Morning arrived with a pale and distant light that filtered through the tall glass of the 12th floor window. Ethan Cole stood before it with a rigid posture, as though afraid that even the act of breathing might disturb whatever invisible presence had touched the glass during the night. The fingerprints were still there and more visible now. Long streaks trailed downward in uneven lines, as if a hand had pressed against the pane and dragged slowly as it descended. Ethan felt a tremor in his chest. There was no way any person could have reached the window of a building this tall without equipment, and certainly not without leaving a trace that security would have noticed. He forced himself to step closer. The glass felt cold, even colder than the morning air in the apartment. The chill seemed to seep through the surface and crawl onto his skin like something alive. He rubbed his fingertips over the inner surface and felt nothing but smooth material, yet he could see the shapes clearly. The faint ridges of fingers pressed on the outer side of the pane. The thought tightened his throat. Someone or something had been right there, only inches away from where he slept. Ethan backed away and turned on all the lights in the living room, as though brightness alone could erase the memory of the night. He paced in slow circles. His mind tried to produce rational explanations, but none of them fit. The building was too tall for pranks, too monitored for trespassing, and too isolated for accidents. He checked his phone and found no notices from the management office and no messages from neighbors. The world treated the night as ordinary. Yet Ethan knew it was anything but that. By late morning, Ethan decided to speak with the security team. Ridgeway Heights was known for tight surveillance, and that alone gave him a small measure of confidence. As he entered the lobby, the warm light and clean atmosphere of the building felt strangely disconnected from the cold dread that had settled in his apartment. The guard on duty was a broad man named Carlos, who greeted Ethan politely before noticing his tense expression. "Is something wrong, sir?" Carlos asked with a faint frown. Ethan hesitated, then spoke in a low, steady voice. "Something happened last night. At my window. I need to know if any maintenance workers or contractors were outside the building." Carlos shook his head slowly. No exterior work was scheduled this week, and nothing unusual was reported. "Why do you ask?" Ethan forced himself to explain. He described the knocks, the fingerprints, and the shadow that slid across the glass. He kept his tone controlled, but the words still felt unreal as he spoke them. Carlos listened politely, though his expression shifted toward careful neutrality, the look of someone humoring a resident who had experienced a nightmare. "Sir, the cameras would have caught anything on the side of the building," Carlos said, "but I can check if that will help you feel at ease." He led Ethan into the security office, where several screens displayed live and recorded footage from every angle of the tower. The building exterior was monitored by long-range cameras and thermal sensors. Carlos typed in the time frame while Ethan stood with arms crossed, fighting the rising tension in his chest. The footage appeared. Black and white views of the building stretched outward in crisp clarity. They watched the 12th floor angle carefully. Minutes passed. Nothing. No figure, no movement, no disturbance of any kind. The night looked dead still, as if the wind itself refused to touch the tower. Carlos turned to Ethan with a gentle sigh. "There is nothing here, sir. No one approached your window." Ethan clenched his jaw. He felt a surge of embarrassment, but it was buried under the heavier weight of fear. The cameras showed nothing, yet the fingerprints on his window were undeniable. Something had been there that did not appear on film, and that thought chilled him more than anything he had experienced so far. He thanked Carlos quietly and returned to the elevator. The ride up felt slow and suffocating. When the doors opened, Ethan stepped out cautiously, scanning the hallway, even though he knew the presence had been outside, not inside. Still, the corridor felt colder than usual, and the air carried a faint scent of dust that had not been there before. Inside his apartment, the silence greeted him like a living thing. The window looked unchanged, but the fingerprints now seemed darker, as though the morning light revealed new details he had missed before. Ethan approached them again and saw something that made his breath catch. The streaks were not from a single hand. They were from several, multiple sets of fingers overlapping and dragging down the glass. as if more than one hand had pressed against it during the night. He stumbled back, pressing a hand to his forehead. This was no prank. This was not a person hanging from ropes or climbing with gear. No human had reason to drag multiple hands across a window 12 floors above the street in the middle of the night. A knock sounded at his door. Ethan jumped violently before realizing it was from the hallway, not the window. He opened the door to find his neighbor Nora Bennett standing there with a concerned expression. Nora was in her early 30s, friendly but private. Someone who rarely engaged in long conversations. "I heard something last night," she said in a hesitant tone. "It sounded like knocking. Did you hear it too?" Ethan stared at her. "You heard knocking at your window?" Nora nodded with unease. "Around 2 in the morning. Soft at first, then louder. I thought I imagined it. But when I looked outside, there was nothing. But I felt something watching me." A cold wave washed through Ethan. If Nora had heard it too, then whatever visited his window was not targeting him alone. Something moved along the building in the darkness, touching windows, leaving marks, whispering through the silence of night. Ethan motioned for her to follow and showed her the fingerprints. Nora covered her mouth in shock. "Those are on the outside," she whispered. "How is that possible?" "I do not know," Ethan replied, "but something was there." The two stood in uneasy silence, staring at the glass that separated them from a presence they could not understand. Somewhere far below, the city continued its regular rhythm, but up here on the 12th floor, the air felt charged with something ancient and patient and real. Ethan knew one thing with certainty. The night had not been a dream. It had been a warning, and it was only the beginning. Ethan Cole spent the remainder of the day in a haze of restless movement. Even the simplest sounds inside the apartment seemed too sharp, too deliberate, as though every noise echoed the memory of the knocking that had woken him the night before. He tried to distract himself by making coffee, by reorganizing the silverware, by pretending to be busy with mundane tasks, but the weight of what he had seen remained heavy in the center of his chest. The fingerprints still darkened the window, and their presence filled the air with a sense of suffocating dread. By late afternoon, Ethan found himself sitting on the edge of the couch, staring at the window for what felt like the 100th time. The streaks created an eerie pattern almost resembling the shape of multiple hands pressed together in a silent plea or warning. The longer he stared, the more his mind twisted the image into something alive. He finally stood up with a frustrated exhale, grabbed a cloth, and stepped toward the glass. He pressed the cloth against the pane, but froze. The fingerprints were on the outside, and no matter how much he rubbed from the inside, nothing changed. The marks clung stubbornly to the exterior surface, as though etched into the glass. A chill ran down his spine. He slowly lowered his hand and stepped back carefully. As evening approached, the sky outside darkened into a deep blue haze. The city lights shimmered like scattered embers, and the wind rose in slow, methodical gusts. Ethan turned on every light in the apartment again, unwilling to leave any shadow untouched. Yet even with the lights all on the corner of the room near the window looked darker than it should. He tried not to think about it. Instead, He forced himself to sit at his desk and work through emails from his job, yet his attention drifted repeatedly to the window. At one point, he glimpsed movement from the corner of his eye, a shadow sliding across the glass. He whipped around, heart hammering, but nothing appeared. An hour later, a soft thud echoed through the room. Ethan stiffened his fingers, frozen above the keyboard. Another thud followed, heavier this time. It came from the window again. He stood slowly and stepped forward until he could see the reflection of his own face trembling in the glass. The thud came again, but now accompanied by a low scraping sound like nails dragging against the outer surface. The streak seemed freshened, thinned in some places, as if something were trying to make new marks. Ethan felt a pulse of terror race through him. His voice barely rose above a whisper. "Please stop." The scraping did stop, but then he saw it. A shadow shifted on the exterior pane, its form flowing like liquid darkness. It clung to the vertical surface without any visible shape of a body. No limbs, no head, nothing to identify what it was. Yet it moved with intention, pressing itself against the window. Ethan stumbled backward and grabbed his phone. His shaking fingers activated the camera, and he held it toward the scene. The screen displayed only his reflection and the city lights beyond. The shadow was invisible on the phone. He lowered the device slightly. The shadow was still there on the glass, crouched or leaning in some impossible way. His breath came short and ragged. A sudden, loud knock shattered the fragile quiet. 3 slow, deliberate taps on the glass. Ethan felt his stomach drop as though gravity itself betrayed him. He forced himself to look directly at the shadow. For a moment, it pressed closer, flattening against the pane, as though testing the boundary between its world and his. Then a faint distortion rippled through the glass, as if something tried to pass through but failed. Ethan stumbled to the doorway of the living room, unable to tear his eyes away. The shadow began to withdraw, stretching upward like a smear of ink pulled by invisible strings. It drifted toward the upper corner of the window where the glass met the frame. Then it vanished into the darkness above, leaving only silence and the faint memory of its shape. He remained frozen in place for several minutes. His mind swirled with fear, confusion, and disbelief. Whatever this presence was, it had returned, and now it responded to him. His voice, his movements, even his fear seemed to draw it closer. He felt a wave of nausea. He needed answers. He needed help. His thoughts turned to Nora. She had heard knocking too. If the presence visited her window as well, then she was also in danger. He stepped into the hall and walked quickly to her apartment. He knocked 3 times, calling her name. When she opened the door, her face was pale and tense. Ethan whispered urgently, "It came back." "I saw it again." Nora swallowed hard, but did not look surprised. "Something happened here too," she said. "I heard scratching, not knocking this time. And when I looked at the glass, I saw a dark shape moving downward." Ethan felt the dread intensify. "Did you film it?" She shook her head. "My phone would not focus. The shadow did not show. It was like it was not what the camera expected to see." They shared a fearful silence. Something was moving along the outer surface of the building, something unseen by cameras yet visible to the human eye. nearby and able to leave physical marks, something aware of their presence. Ethan steadied his breath. "We should not stay alone tonight," he said. "Whatever it is, it keeps coming back." Nora nodded slowly. "I feel like it is searching for something or someone." The words sent a cold tremor down Ethan's spine. He thought back to the shadow pressing against the glass, to the dragging marks, to the way it lingered, as if studying him. He lowered his voice. "I think it is looking for a way in," Nora whispered. "And if it finds one?" Neither of them answered. The question hung between them like a blade. They returned to Ethan's apartment, where the lights still glowed brightly. The window seemed calm again, but the fingerprints showed darker, now transformed by the shifting evening light. Nora approached, slowly examining the streaks. "These are different," she whispered. "Some of these were not here this morning." Ethan felt his blood run cold. The presence had touched the glass again while he was speaking to her in the hallway. He stepped closer and glanced up toward the top of the window where the shadow had vanished. A faint new smear curved downward, as if a hand had reached from above. They stood together in an oppressive quiet. The city outside seemed distant, unreal. Up on the 12th floor, the world felt isolated, suspended between reality and something that lurked just beyond perception. Nora turned to him. "We need to figure out what happened in this apartment before you moved in." Ethan nodded. He felt the truth stirring in the depths of his fear. Someone must have known about this presence. Someone must have experienced it before him. The answer lay hidden somewhere in the building, in its records, or in the stories whispered by long-term residents. But as he stared at the window again, he felt certain of one thing. The presence was not finished with them. The shadow was watching, learning, waiting for its next chance to return. And night was coming swiftly. Night settled over Ridgeway Heights like a heavy veil. Ethan Cole sat on the floor of his living room with his back against the couch, trying to slow the pounding of his heart as the city outside dimmed into a distant constellation of lights. Nora Bennett sat nearby, hugging her knees to her chest. Neither spoke. Words seemed too fragile for the weight of what they had witnessed. The apartment lights glared brightly, yet the window still commanded every corner of their attention, like a presence waiting for its moment to return. As the minutes passed, the silence grew sharper. Ethan kept glancing toward the glass. The fingerprints seemed to pulse in the dull reflection, as though they had been freshly made only moments before. Nora followed his gaze and whispered, "It feels like it is listening." Ethan shivered. He could not deny the sensation that the air around them had thickened. The apartment felt colder than it should, despite the heater humming lightly in the corner. He forced himself to stand. "We cannot just sit and wait," he said, though his voice trembled. "Maybe there is a record in the office or a file about the previous tenant." Nora rose to her feet and nodded, but neither moved toward the door. Their instincts warned them not to leave the apartment, not while the night pressed so close against the glass. Suddenly, a soft sound brushed the surface of the window. It was not a knock this time, but a faint whispering scrape like a fingertip trailing along the outer pane. Nora gasped sharply. Ethan felt an icy pulse crawl through his spine. The sound repeated a second time, slower, more deliberate. He stepped closer, unable to stop himself, though every nerve screamed at him to turn away. The glass glimmered faintly, and then a shadowy smear materialized on the upper right corner, sliding downward with unnatural fluidity. Nora backed up until she hit the couch. Ethan stood frozen, watching the shape stretch like a streak of ink dragged by gravity. It moved with intention, flowing in uneven pulses as though alive. Then a voice whispered behind the glass. At first, Ethan thought it was the wind, but the sound shaped itself into something unmistakable. A broken murmur, low and hoarse, like someone trying to speak through water. Ethan felt his throat tighten as the voice grew clearer, forming fragments of words that scraped against his mind more than his ears. Ethan, let me in," Nora screamed. Ethan stumbled backward, his heel catching on the rug as the whisper deepened into a guttural resonance. The shadow pressed closer, spreading across the glass, as though flattening itself to watch him. The distorted voice rose again. "Ethan, open." He shook his head violently. No, stay away." The presence intensified. The glass rippled inward slightly, as if something from the other side exerted force. Nora grabbed Ethan's arm. "It knows your name," she said, her voice shaking. "How does it know your name?" Ethan felt the question tear through him. He had never spoken his name aloud near the window. He had barely spoken at all since moving in. Before he could respond, the lights flickered. Every bulb in the apartment pulsed, as though reacting to the presence outside. A sharp crack echoed through the room, and a thin fracture appeared near the lower edge of the pane. Ethan let out a choked breath. The glass was weakening. Nora pulled him toward the hallway. "We need help now." He hesitated, glancing back toward the window. The shadow distorted further, curling into an indistinct shape that pressed violently against the weakening glass. Then something tapped against the crack. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. Ethan turned and ran with Nora into the hallway. The door slammed behind them, shutting out the oppressive cold. The hallway felt warmer, but the fear followed them like a sickness lingering in their lungs. They hurried to the elevator, but the display panel blinked erratically. Ethan hit the button repeatedly, but the doors refused to open. "We will have to take the stairs," Nora said. Ethan nodded, though his legs felt heavy. They hurried toward the stairwell door. As Nora pushed it open, a wave of cold air swept over them. The stairwell was dimmer than it should have been. Only a few of the overhead lights glowed faintly, casting broken shadows along the concrete steps. They began descending. The sound of their footsteps echoed sharply in the emptiness. Ethan felt the sense of being watched intensify with each step. He stopped at the 3rd landing. Nora glanced back. Ethan whispered, "Do you hear that?" A faint scraping drifted through the stairwell. It came from above, slowly drawing closer. Not footsteps, not breathing, a dragging noise like something pulling itself along the wall. Nora grabbed Ethan's hand. "Keep moving." They rushed down the stairs, hearts pounding. The scraping grew louder, following their movements with unnatural precision. When they reached the 7th floor landing, a sudden violent thud struck the metal door above them. They froze. A second thud rattled the hinges. Ethan stared upward as the metal dented inward, as if struck by something heavy. "Run!" Nora's voice cracked. They bolted down the remaining flights, reaching the lobby door, breathless and trembling. Carlos, the guard, stood behind the desk, startled by their frantic entrance. "What happened?" he asked, rushing forward. Ethan tried to speak, but only fragments came out. "Something is in the building. It is following us. It is at my window." Carlos' expression shifted from concern to confusion, then to alarm, as another loud thud echoed through the stairwell door behind them. Nora held her breath. The metal vibrated as if something pounded against it from the other side. Carlos reached for the emergency phone, but the line crackled uselessly. He lifted a flashlight and approached the stairwell door slowly. "Everyone stay back," he said. Ethan grabbed Nora's arm and stepped farther away. The three waited in tense silence. The stairwell door fell silent. Carlos exhaled. Maybe it was a pipe or The door dented inward, violently cutting him off. The force left a deep curve in the metal. Carlos staggered back, his face pale. "That is no pipe," he whispered. The lights in the lobby flickered. The walls vibrated faintly as though the presence moved along the building structure itself. A cold gust swept across the room, though no doors had opened. Carlos pointed towards the manager office. "We need to check the building records. Something is wrong here." Nora nodded. Ethan hesitated, then followed them. The manager office was dark, but Carlos unlocked it quickly. Inside were old filing cabinets stacked against the far wall. He turned on a desk lamp and opened one of the drawers, flipping through folders with trembling fingers. "What are we looking for?" Ethan asked. Carlos shook his head. "Anything. Complaints, incidents, previous tenants." Nora froze, suddenly staring at a label on one folder. "Unit 12F. Carlos pulled it out and spread the documents on the desk. A short report lay on top. Nora read it aloud in a shaking whisper. "Former tenant John Mallory reported repeated knocking on window. Claimed dark figure clinging to glass. Found missing days later. Window showed multiple exterior marks." Ethan felt the blood drain from his face. Nora looked at him, eyes wide with terror. "It came for someone before," she said, "and now it has come for you." Before Ethan could respond, the lobby lights went out, plunging them into darkness. A low whisper crawled along the glass windows at the front of the building. "Ethan, let me in." The lobby of Ridgeway Heights lay in suffocating darkness. Ethan Cole stood frozen near the manager office, while Nora and Carlos remained close by. The emergency lights, meant to illuminate during power loss, flickered weakly but never fully ignited. It was as though something deeper than electrical failure had taken hold of the building, something that drained light itself from the air. Carlos held his flashlight firmly, the narrow beam shaking as his hands trembled. Ethan felt the cold in the room sharpen as though invisible frost spread through the lobby. A whisper curled across the glass at the entrance, scraping softly like a fingertip tracing patterns. Ethan shivered. The shadow outside was waiting. "We need to check the security feeds," Carlos whispered. "If something is happening on every floor, we need to know." Ethan Ethan and Nora followed him back to the desk. The monitors glowed faintly, but static crawled across most of the screens. It looked as though interference rolled through the building in waves. Carlos tapped the controls. "Come on, work." The screens flickered, but refused to stabilize. Each time an image almost formed, it dissolved back into static. Then one screen cleared for a moment. Floor 12 hallway. Ethan leaned forward. The corridor was empty, motionless, too still. Another screen flickered into clarity. Floor 11. Nothing there either. But then the lights on the feed dimmed. Shadows stretched unnaturally long, as if bending toward the camera. The image warped again before dissolving completely. A third screen began to clear. Floor 10. Nora gasped. Something was moving. A shape slid along the wall of the hallway. Not walking, not drifting, crawling along the vertical surface as though unbound by gravity. Ethan felt a wave of cold wash through him. The silhouette was not human, nor animal. It was shifting darkness. Carlos recoiled. "What is that thing?" Ethan could not answer. The shadow crept toward a window at the end of the hallway. Its form rippled like fabric caught in a storm. As it reached the glass, the camera flickered violently, then went black. One by one, the remaining cameras began to die, not randomly, systematically, floor by floor, a creeping blackout that rose toward the higher levels. Ethan swallowed hard. "It is coming up." Nora grabbed Ethan's arm. "We cannot stay here. We need to find a place it cannot reach." Carlos shook his head. "If it moves through walls and glass, you will not outrun it. We need to understand what it wants." Ethan hesitated. The voice had spoken his name. It had asked to be let in. Whatever the presence was, it had chosen him as its target. The thought hollowed his chest. Another monitor crackled alive suddenly. A grainy image flickered into view. Ethan apartment window. His breath stopped. More handprints appeared on the outer glass, forming rapidly, as if invisible hands pressed against it. A dark smear slid downward, then another. The camera stuttered, but captured something impossible. A distorted face emerging from the shadow. No features, no eyes, no mouth. A blank void staring inward. The screen burst into static. Nora whispered, "It is searching for you. It knows you are not in the apartment." Carlos turned to them. "There is one place in the building fewer cameras cover. The basement archive. Thick walls, no windows. Maybe it cannot reach us there." Ethan nodded, though dread twisted inside him. The basement was not a comfort. It was a last resort. But staying here meant waiting for the shadow to find them. They moved quickly through the lobby. Every step felt heavy as the cold deepened around them. The stairwell door at the far end of the lobby rattled suddenly. Nora froze. Another sharp blow struck the metal. The door bulged inward slightly. Then another hit bent the panel further. Ethan could hear the scraping behind it growing louder. Carlos motioned them forward. "Go now. Keep your heads down." They ran for the elevator bank, though the power was unstable. Carlos swiped his card at the maintenance lift. To Ethan, surprised, the doors slid open obediently, though the lights inside flickered faintly. Inside the lift, the air felt stale. The doors closed, and the claustrophobic space hummed softly as they descended. Nora clutched Ethan's hand. He did not pull away. The ride seemed endless. When the doors finally opened, The basement greeted them with cold, dim light and a long concrete corridor. Old pipes lined the ceiling. The hum of machinery echoed faintly. Carlos led them toward the archive room at the far end. As they walked, Ethan felt a slow pressure build in the air as though descending deep underwater. The presence felt closer now. Not above, not below, but everywhere, pressing against the foundation of the building. Carlos unlocked the archive door and ushered them inside. The room was filled with storage shelves and boxes, though most remained untouched for years. The walls were thick, reinforced concrete. No windows, no reflective surfaces except for a small metal cabinet. Nora exhaled shakily. For now we are safe. The silence that followed was heavy. Ethan approached the center of the room, trying to steady himself. He felt the fear settling into a cold anchor in his chest. "What does it want from me?" he whispered. Nora shook her head. "I do not know, but it has been here before. Whatever happened to the tenant before you, it is happening again." Carlos flipped through the folder from earlier. John Mallory lived in 12F for 4 months, he said. Reported noises, shadows, fingerprints on the glass, then disappeared one night. His window was cracked from the outside. No signs of forced entry otherwise. Ethan felt the room tighten around him. Maybe the presence wanted Mallory too. Maybe Mallory opened the window. Maybe he let it in. The lights flickered. The three froze. Ethan's heart stuttered. The flickering grew stronger. Then the bulb steadied again. Carlos shook his head. Power fluctuations, probably tied to the same thing attacking the cameras. But Nora's voice cracked as she stared at the metal cabinet. Ethan looked toward it. A faint distortion shimmered across the surface. Not a shadow this time. A reflection, but not their reflection. Slowly, a face emerged in the distorted metal. Featureless, dark, a void pressing forward, as if trying to force its way through the reflective surface. Ethan stumbled back. Nora screamed, and Carlos dropped the flashlight. The face pressed harder, the metal warping slightly as though softening under its presence. Ethan heard it again, a whisper like breath through shattered glass. "Ethan, let me in." The metal began to bulge outward. Nora grabbed his arm. "We cannot stay here." Carlos stepped in front of them, his voice shaking. "Go! Run to the generator room. It is deeper underground. Maybe it cannot follow." Another bulge in the metal forced the cabinet door open slightly. A tendril of darkness seeped out, curling like smoke, but heavier, thicker, alive. Ethan felt the temperature in the room plummet. He grabbed Nora's hand and pulled her toward the exit. Carlos shouted behind them, "Do not look back." They ran into the basement corridor. The air grew colder each step. The lights overhead flickered violently. Behind them, Ethan heard something pour out of the archive room like tar splashing onto the concrete. Then the whisper returned louder, clearer. "Ethan." He pulled Nora faster. The generator room was ahead. Thick steel door, heavy lock. The concrete hallway seemed to stretch longer than it should, as though the building warped subtly around them. A sudden slam echoed behind them. Ethan risked a glance. The darkness from the archive moved along the floor and walls like a wave of ink chasing them. It clung to surfaces, leaving trails of black residue almost there. Nora's voice cracked. They reached the generator room door. Carlos was not behind them. Ethan hesitated, but Nora pulled him through. He shut the door and locked it, just as the first dark smear reached the threshold. The room vibrated softly with the low hum of machinery. Ethan felt his lungs burning. The shadow pressed against the other side of the door, whispering, scraping, searching. Nora whispered, "If it got Mallory, it will not stop until it gets you." Ethan stared at the vibrating steel. The voice rose again, "Let me in," and the door began to bend. The steel door of the generator room bent inward with a groaning sound that echoed through the confined space, like the breath of some enormous, unseen creature. Ethan Cole backed away until his shoulders struck the humming machinery behind him. Nora stood at his side, gripping his arm with trembling fingers. The air around them vibrated with the slow, steady pressure of something pushing against the metal from the outside. The whisper returned. "Ethan, let me in." The sound crawled beneath their skin. It was not loud, but intimate, like a breath whispered directly into their ears. Even though the voice came through several inches of steel, Ethan felt his pulse thundering. The presence was not simply attempting to enter the room. It was testing the structure, measuring the resistance, as though it had all the time in the world to break through. Nora pressed her back against the machinery, her voice barely audible. "It followed us, even down here." Ethan nodded slowly. "It moves through the building like it is part of it, or like the building is part of it." The steel groaned again, bulging inward. Ethan could almost see the shape behind it, not a human silhouette, but a distortion, a ripple of darkness pressing through reality itself. The metal cabinet in the archive had warped like softened clay. Now the generator room door was starting to do the same. "We cannot wait here," Ethan said breathlessly. "If it can bend steel, it will eventually get in." Nora looked around the room wildly. "Where do we go? Building is full of windows and reflective metal, and now floors and walls." Ethan moved deeper into the generator room, scanning every surface. His gaze stopped on a small maintenance hatch halfway up the wall behind a set of pipes. "What is that?" Nora followed his eyes. "Some kind of service tunnel access, maybe." He climbed onto a low platform and pulled at the hatch. It resisted at first, then swung open with a rusty screech, releasing a gust of cold, stale air. A narrow tunnel extended into darkness. No lights, no guidance, only a cramped metal corridor that seemed to stretch endlessly into the guts of the building. Nora stared wide-eyed. "Where does it go?" Ethan shook his head. "I do not know. Maybe to the auxiliary generator, maybe to another maintenance area. But whatever is behind that door will be here soon. We do not have any other options." The steel buckled violently behind them. A long crack formed near the top of the door. A thin line of darkness seeped through, dripping like liquid ink. Nora let out a choked cry. Ethan grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the hatch. "Climb," he urged. "Do not look back." She crawled into the narrow tunnel without hesitation. Ethan followed, pulling the hatch closed behind them. just as something slammed into the generator room door with a force that rattled the pipes along the walls. The tunnel was pitch black except for the faint glow of Ethan phone, which flickered uncertainly as though the darkness itself drained its battery. They crawled forward on hands and knees. The metal floor groaned with each movement. Ethan felt the air grow colder as they progressed. The tunnel walls vibrated gently with distant mechanical hums, as though the building itself breathed around them. Nora whispered, "I do not think this tunnel has been used in years." Ethan agreed. Dust thickened beneath their palms. Cobwebs brushed their faces, but the narrowness of the space offered one comfort. Whatever hunted them would struggle to fit through unless it changed shape again. They crawled for several minutes before the tunnel branched left and right. Nora paused. Which way? Ethan shone his flickering light. Each path looked identical, metal gray and endless. Behind them, the faint sound of scraping echoed through the tunnel. Ethan froze. Nora snapped her head around. It found the hatch. Ethan whispered, "Left, go!" They hurried down the left path, moving faster now despite the pain in their knees. The old metal groaned with their weight. Ethan's phone flickered again, the light dimming and swelling as if reacting to an unseen force. The scraping behind them grew louder, not rapid, not clumsy, slow, deliberate drags along the metal floor. The sound matched the rhythm of the knocking that had haunted Ethan's window. Steady, patient, measured. Ethan heard a whisper float down the tunnel. "Ethan, you cannot hide." Nora crawled faster, tears streaking down her dusty cheeks. Ethan felt his throat tighten. The presence toyed with them. It learned their movements. It mimicked their voice patterns. It knew fear and fed on it. Suddenly, the tunnel widened enough for the two to stand hunched. A metal grate blocked their path ahead. Ethan grabbed the bars and pulled. Rust flaked off. The grate resisted, then tore free with a sharp metallic shriek that echoed through the corridor. Nora slipped through first. Ethan followed, but the moment he landed in the larger chamber beyond, he felt a shift in the air. The room was circular, built of concrete, and lined with old machinery. The walls glistened faintly with condensation, and an unnerving rhythmic pulse traveled through the floor like a slow heartbeat. Nora whispered, "This room is breathing." Ethan agreed silently. The pulsing air matched the vibrations he had felt earlier in the building. This chamber was alive in some impossible way. A low moan reverberated through the walls, not mechanical, organic. Then Ethan saw it. On the far side of the chamber, a section of the wall bulged inward, not as a crack or structural failure, but as if something behind the concrete pressed against it. The shape pulsed outward slowly, stretching the material like thick fabric. Nora grabbed Ethan's hand. "We need to leave now." Another tunnel exited the chamber. They sprinted toward it, but a deep, resonant whisper filled the room again. "Ethan, let me see you." The wall stretched further. A thin fracture spread in a jagged line. Through the crack, a smear of darkness seeped out, pooling onto the floor like living shadow. Ethan pulled Nora into the next tunnel just as the fracture widened. The new tunnel was taller, allowing them to run crouched. The air grew colder still. Ethan's chest ached with each breath. Behind them, the shadow flooded into the corridor, spreading faster than before. It clung to the walls like a predatory tide. Ethan's phone died abruptly, plunging them into complete darkness. Nora grabbed his arm. "Do not stop. Follow the air. It is moving toward an opening." Their hands brushed the tunnel walls, guiding them forward. The cold wind whispered along their skin, pointing the way. The shadow behind them hissed a distorted sound of frustration or hunger. Ethan felt the floor incline downward. The tunnel opened into a wide maintenance shaft filled with broken pipes and abandoned tools. Some lights flickered weakly from overhead panels, but most hung dead and cold. A ladder extended upward toward a hatch. Ethan grabbed it. "Up, now!" Nora climbed first. Ethan followed. The shadow surged into the shaft below, pooling like thick smoke at the base of the ladder. It reached upward, stretching tendrils along the metal rungs. Nora pushed at the hatch. It resisted. Ethan climbed beside her and shoved with both hands. The metal finally gave way and cold air rushed in from above. They emerged into a small electrical sublevel just below the main basement. Ethan slammed the hatch shut and locked it. The floor beneath them shook as the shadow struck the barrier from below. Nora collapsed against the wall, sobbing quietly. Ethan leaned beside her, breathless. The whisper continued from beneath the hatch. "Ethan, I will find you," Nora whispered. "It is not giving up." Ethan stared at the trembling hatch. "No, it is not, and it knows where we are." The building groaned around them. The presence pressed closer, and Ethan realized something chilling. The shadow was not moving randomly. It was herding them, guiding them somewhere deeper, somewhere it wanted them to go. The electrical sublevel stretched before Ethan Cole and Nora Bennett, like the skeleton of a forgotten world. Rusted pipes lined the ceiling. Old wiring hung in tangled webs. Faint emergency lights flickered at wide intervals, casting long, trembling shadows across the concrete floor. The cold that seeped through the air felt different now. Heavier, more sentient. Every breath formed a pale mist, even though the room should not have been cold enough for that. Ethan pressed his hand against the steel hatch they had just escaped through. The metal vibrated as the shadow on the other side tested its strength. Each impact was soft, yet filled with unnatural pressure. Nora stepped back until she hit a large electrical transformer. Ethan whispered, "It knows where we are. It has been herding us." Nora nodded, her eyes wide, leading us somewhere. "And each time we move, it pushes us further down." They scanned the sublevel. Rows of old panels stretched into darkness. But something felt wrong. Too many lights were dead. Too many pipes dripped without a water source. And the hum of the generator above was muted, as though the sound had been swallowed. Ethan took a careful step forward. The floor groaned hollowly beneath him. Nora followed close, whispering, "We cannot stay here, but where do we go next?" Ahead, a narrow corridor extended deeper underground. A sign printed decades earlier hung crookedly on the wall. "Archive Expansion Storage." Nora frowned. "I thought the archives were upstairs." Ethan nodded slowly. "They are, whatever this is, It was never meant for residents. The shadow struck the hatch again, this time harder. The metal bent downward slightly. The sound reverberated across the room like a slow heartbeat. Ethan grabbed Nora's arm. "We need to move now." They rushed into the corridor, the emergency lights flickering as they passed beneath them. The deeper they went, the more the air changed. It thickened, grew colder, and carried a faint, distant echo, a rhythmic thumping like footsteps or machinery or something alive. Ethan slowed. Nora whispered, "Do you hear that?" He nodded. The echo grew louder. Then the corridor opened into a much larger room, and the room felt wrong. Old shelving units lined the walls, covered with dust. Boxes were stacked haphazardly, some collapsed as though disturbed by something large. But the center of the room made Nora gasp. On the concrete floor, a circle of smeared, dark material stretched several feet wide. Not paint, not oil, something thicker, organic. Ethan approached carefully. He knelt just near the edge and touched it with one gloved finger. It was dry, but beneath the surface, the material pulsed faintly. He recoiled violently. Nora clutched her mouth. Ethan whispered, "This is not old. It is alive." The room seemed to breathe in slow, heavy pulses. The ceiling creaked. A faint vibration moved under their feet. The shadow had not followed them here yet, but its presence lingered like a cold memory. Nora moved toward a broken shelf. Something scratched into the concrete wall caught her attention. She knelt and brushed dust away, revealing shaky, hand-carved letters. "Let it in, or it will take you." Ethan's chest tightened. Below the writing was a second line carved deeper, more violently. "Do not run. It likes the chase." Nora stood, quickly backing away. Ethan searched the room with his trembling light. More writing covered the far wall. Another message. He heard it first. Then he saw it. Then he let it in. Nora whispered, "John Mallory." "He was here." Ethan nodded. This was where the previous tenant tried to hide, but something found him. A sudden metallic clang echoed from the corridor they had come through. Then a scraping sound. Nora grabbed Ethan's arm. "It found us again." They hurried toward the opposite side of the room where two rusted doors stood. Ethan pulled one open, revealing a pitch-black stairwell spiraling upward. Nora tested the steps with her foot. They felt unstable, corroded. She shook her head. "We cannot go that way." Ethan opened the second door. Behind it lay a narrow passage, and at the end of that passage, a single dim light glowed. Nora pointed. "That one." They rushed inside the corridor. The walls were concrete, but smeared with black streaks, as if someone had dragged wet hands through soot. Ethan felt his heartbeat growing faster. Something about this passage felt familiar, though he had never been here before. They reached the room at the end. It was small, barely more than a storage closet. But inside stood a single object, a mirror. Tall, old, covered in dust. Nora whispered, "Why would they keep a mirror in a place like this?" Ethan stared at it. His breath shook. The shadow moved through reflections, windows, stainless steel, through anything that could hold its shape. A mirror would be the perfect doorway, but this mirror was covered in runes scratched into its frame, symbols carved deeply in uneven strokes. Some letters were from old alphabets, others Ethan did not recognize. Nora stepped closer, tracing the carvings. She whispered. Someone tried to seal it shut. Ethan shook his head. Or trap something inside. A low thud echoed from the corridor. The lights flickered. The mirror pulsed faintly. Not a reflection, but a ripple across the surface. The whisper returned. Ethan. Nora screamed and stumbled back. The mirror darkened from within, as though ink spilled across the silvered backing. A faint shape pressed outward. Ethan grabbed her arm. "We need to smash it." She hesitated only a moment. Then they both lifted a fallen metal pipe. They slammed it into the mirror. The glass did not break. Instead, the room responded. The walls shook. The floor vibrated. Dust fell from the ceiling. The shadow behind the mirror grew stronger, pressing outward until faint hands formed against the glass palms. Flat fingers, stretched long and distorted. Nora cried. "It is using the mirror as a door." Ethan swung again. The pipe bounced back violently, sending him to the floor. The mirror surface rippled again, almost liquid. A face formed briefly, hollow. Searching. Ethan scrambled to his feet. "We need to get out." The corridor behind them darkened, not from a lack of light, but from an invasion of shadow seeping along the walls like ink spreading through paper. It crawled toward the mirror, pulsing eagerly. Nora gasped. "It wants the mirror open." This is what it was leading us to. This room, this door. Ethan realized she was right. The presence had been forcing them deeper and deeper, not to kill them, but to guide them to this place, to this doorway, to this chance to break free from whatever held it. He grabbed Nora's hand. "Run!" They sprinted out of the closet, barreling back into the archive expansion room. The dark circle on the floor pulsed faster now. The shelves rattled violently. A deep groan echoed through the building, as though the entire structure awakened. The shadow behind them lunged from the corridor, flooding the room like a wave. Ethan pulled Nora toward another exit door they had not noticed before, half hidden behind collapsed boxes. He shoved it open and they tumbled through. They were in a wide service hall, lit only by a few trembling bulbs. Ethan slammed the door shut and locked it. The shadow hissed behind the barrier as though angered. Nora leaned on the wall, gasping. "We cannot let it reach that mirror again." Ethan nodded, breathless. "Whatever is inside that mirror is worse than what is chasing us." A distant rumble traveled through the floor. "A warning or a promise," Nora whispered. "Ethan, it wants you to open it. That is why it keeps saying your name." Ethan closed his eyes. The darkness in the building pulsed. The walls trembled softly. The presence was not done, not deterred. It was waiting. It would wait forever if it had to. He opened his eyes again. "We keep moving. We will not give it what it wants." But Ethan felt the truth clawing at him. The shadow was patient. And before this night ended, he would face the mirror again. The service hall stretched endlessly before Ethan Cole and Nora Bennett, lit only by trembling bulbs that flickered in timid defiance of the darkness creeping through the building. The air felt heavier here, thick with dust and a faint metallic scent that clung to the back of their tongues. Every surface hummed with a pressure that made their skin crawl, as if the structure itself pulsed with a heartbeat older than the steel that shaped it. Ethan moved cautiously, scanning each branching hallway. None of this level existed on the building schematics he had seen earlier with Carlos. This place felt older, constructed before Ridgeway Heights had been completed, maybe even before it had been planned. Nora whispered beside him, "Ethan, how far down do you think we are?" He shook his head. "I do not know, but we are below every level I knew existed." A distant groan echoed through the walls, long and low, like a whale calling from the depths of a dead ocean. Nora flinched. The sound was not just noise. It carried intent, as though acknowledging their presence. Ethan swallowed. "We have to keep moving." They followed the hall until it forked into 3 paths. Each corridor was nearly identical, but the middle one emitted a faint light. Not electric, not fire, a soft pulsating glow like bioluminescence. Nora grabbed Ethan's arm. "That is coming from the mirror room direction." Ethan felt cold prick his skin. The presence had tried to hurt them earlier. Perhaps it still was, but if they ran blindly, they would be cornered again. Instead, he forced his breathing steady and said softly, "No, we choose the opposite direction this time." They took the left corridor. The hallway sloped downward at a subtle angle, enough that their footsteps echoed differently. Ethan felt the pressure in his ears shift. They were going deeper underground. The building above seemed to fade away, replaced by the oppressive closeness of concrete and steel. A faint crunch came beneath Nora's shoes. She froze. Ethan leaned down and lifted a fragment of something dry and brittle from the floor. "Bone," Nora whispered. "Please tell me that is not human." He wished he could, but the shape of the fragment was unmistakable. The further they walked, the more fragments appeared. Bones scattered like crumbs, leading deeper into the dark. Some were small, others larger. The air grew colder with each step. A sudden noise from behind made them whirl around. Something was crawling along the ceiling of the hallway they had come from. Its limbs bent at unnatural angles. Ethan could not see its full form, only a shifting silhouette that clung to the surface like a spider made of shadow. Nora gasped. "It followed us," Ethan whispered. "Run!" They sprinted down the hall. The shadow gave chase, scraping along the concrete ceiling with slow, deliberate movements that nevertheless kept pace with them. Its presence filled the hall with a suffocating dread, drowning out the sound of their own footsteps. The corridor opened suddenly into an enormous chamber. Ethan and Nora stumbled inside and froze. The room was impossibly vast, larger than any known sublevel of the building. Towering concrete pillars rose into darkness, but their surfaces were covered in carvings, not random scratches, symbols repeated over and over, the same markings carved on the mirror frame. Nora whispered in awe. Someone built this place for that thing. Ethan approached one of the pillars. His fingers traced the grooves of the carvings. Some symbols were deep, as though carved with rage, others shallow and frantic. The markings circled each pillar like a ritual. At the center of the chamber lay a massive circular depression, maybe 30 feet wide. The concrete inside was cracked, sunken as though something heavy had rested there for years. Ethan stepped closer and felt a strange pull toward the depression, a gravitational tug, not physical but psychological. He whispered, "Nora, this place was used for containment, not storage." Nora gaze darted across the carved pillars. "Containing what?" Ethan looked at her. "You already know." Before she replied, a low moan rose from the depression. The ground trembled. Dust drifted downward from the unseen ceiling. Nora grabbed Ethan's wrist. "Ethan, something is still here." They backed away, but a pulse of darkness surged from the depression, like breath exhaled from a sleeping beast. The shadow creature chasing them screeched from the corridor and retreated instantly, as though afraid of whatever had awakened. Ethan's stomach twisted. If the shadow feared this thing, then whatever it was dwarfed its terror. The ground shifted again, and part of the depression collapsed inward. A deep fissure opened, revealing an even lower chamber. Warm air, unnervingly humid, rose from the opening. Nora whispered, "Please do not tell me we are going down there." Ethan did not want to. Every instinct told him this place was wrong, should never have existed. But staying here meant waiting for the shadow to return. He approached the fissure and peered inside. The lower chamber glowed faintly with the same bioluminescent light they had seen earlier. The symbols decorated the walls in spirals. Something inside pulsed rhythmically like a beating heart. Nora choked. "The building is alive." Ethan nodded. "Or something inside it is." Before they could decide their next move, the shadow crawled back into the chamber, but this time it stayed on the wall. Trembling, it hissed, not at them, but at the fissure. Then the whisper echoed through the chamber. "Ethan, not from the fissure, not from the corridor behind them, but from everywhere at once." Nora clutched Ethan's arm so tightly, her fingernails dug into his sleeve. "It is calling you." The fissure pulsed again. A voice rose from deep below, layered as though many voices spoke at once. "Ethan, come back. You took something from me." Ethan whispered, "I did not take anything." The voice replied, "You took my window." Nora's eyes widened in horror. "It does not mean the apartment window. It means the mirror, the door, the only one it could reach." Ethan shook his head. "I did not open it." But the voice rumbled up through the chamber. "You will." The fissure widened suddenly with a violent crack. Air surged upward, carrying the scent of decay. Ethan and Nora stumbled backward as the symbols began to glow with a sickly light. Nora screamed, "Ethan, we have to get out now." The shadow creature screeched again, crawling frantically along the walls as if trying to escape the chamber altogether. Ethan grabbed Nora and ran toward an exit on the far side of the chamber. The ground shook, pillars groaning under the pressure of some awakening force below. The voice roared once more, "Ethan, let me out." They sprinted through the far door just as the floor behind them collapsed completely. The chamber exploded with darkness, and the thing beneath began to rise. The blast of darkness that erupted behind Ethan Cole and Nora Bennett carried the force of a collapsing whirl. They stumbled through the doorway, falling hard onto the cold concrete of yet another corridor. Dust rolled in waves past them, thick enough to sting their eyes and coat their throats. The chamber behind them groaned like a wounded giant, metal bending and stone fracturing under something impossibly heavy. Ethan struggled to his feet first, pulling Nora up with him. Her face was pale, streaked with dirt, her breathing sharp and uneven. She looked past him toward the collapsed chamber. "Ethan, it is getting out." The ground trembled beneath them, a slow, rhythmic pulsing that felt like the heartbeat of something titanic. The fissure below the chamber must have connected to a deeper network, because the sound traveled upward through the floor and into their bones. Nora clutched his arm tightly. "We cannot stay here." A narrow corridor stretched ahead, lit by intermittent bulbs flickering erratically. Ethan grabbed her hand and pulled her forward. Behind them, a deafening crack split the air. The doorway they had passed through seconds earlier buckled outward, as though struck by an unseen force. Dust and shards of concrete sprayed into the corridor. Nora screamed, "It is coming through." They sprinted, their footsteps echoing sharply through the hollow passage. The lights flickered violently, then died completely. For an instant, the corridor was drowned in total blackness. Ethan felt Nora grip his hand even tighter, her breath trembling with panic. Then a dim, reddish glow began to pulse through the corridor walls, coming not from electrical lights, but from the stone itself. The pulsating illumination matched the rhythm of the tremors beneath them. The walls felt alive. Ethan whispered, "This whole level, it was built around that thing, to contain it." Nora nodded shakily. "And now it is waking up." The corridor sloped downward again, deeper into darkness. Ethan wanted to turn back, to climb upward toward the known floors of Ridgeway Heights, but the shadow creature was somewhere behind them, and the enormous being from below was rising. If they turned back now, they would be trapped between the two forces. Suddenly, the corridor widened into a massive dome-shaped chamber. The walls curved inward and glowed faintly, with the same bioluminescent symbols they had seen earlier. But here, the symbols formed intricate spirals and intersecting circles, like a ritual diagram carved into the architecture itself. Nora looked around, her voice small. "This looks like a summoning room, or a prison." At the center of the chamber lay a massive stone slab, though cracked and ancient. It emitted a heat that felt wrong wet, humid, almost like breath. Ethan approached slowly. He felt drawn toward it, as if compelled by an external force. Nora whispered, "Ethan, stop!" He hesitated. The slab pulsed under his fingertips. A strange vision flickered through his mind, someone standing in this very room years earlier, their face obscured, their hands pressed against the glowing symbols, as if pleading. Someone opened the mirror before. Nora knelt beside him. "Ethan, you did not take anything from that creature. Someone before you did." Her words pierced through the fog in his mind. Maybe that was true. Maybe Mallory or someone even earlier had broken the seal on the mirror, and the creature, whatever it was, had been searching for its lost doorway ever since. Before he could speak, the chamber floor shuddered violently. A long crack split the stone slab. Nora gasped. It is coming through here too. The crack widened as air whistled upward from below, carrying the scent of rot and something hot, foul and primal. The bioluminescent symbols flared brighter, reacting to the intrusion. Then the slab split entirely, falling inward. Something rose from the darkness beneath. At first, Ethan thought it was a shadow, but shadows did not have mass. This did. A colossal shape emerged slowly, pushing against the splintered stone. Its surface glistened with the texture of tar and obsidian. Its edges undulated as though made from smoke made solid. No eyes, no face, no features. Yet it looked at him. A voice thundered through the chamber, though no mouth spoke. "Ethan, you belong to me." Nora stood frozen in shock. Ethan felt his legs weaken, his chest compress. The being radiated pressure, like the gravity of a collapsing star. He felt himself struggling to breathe. Nora pulled him back. "Ethan, do not listen to it. It wants to use you for the mirror." The creature surged upward another foot, its mass expanding. Darkness spread from its form like tendrils stretching to claim the room. The symbols on the walls sputtered in protest, pulsing faster as though trying to contain the entity. But the containment was failing. Ethan pulled Nora toward another exit they had not seen before. It was narrow, half buried in rubble, but it was open. They squeezed through as the chamber behind them erupted with a sound like tearing metal. The corridor on the other side was smaller, hotter, and more claustrophobic. Pipes lined both walls. Some steamed, others rattled. The tremors grew stronger. The creature was rising fully now. Nora gasped. "Is there any way out of this level?" Ethan shook his head. "Not one we know, but if the building has all these hidden floors, maybe there is another service shaft, one that leads up." They hurried deeper. A distant roar echoed behind them, so deep Ethan felt his teeth vibrate. The shadow creature that had chased them earlier screeched in terror, then fell silent abruptly. Ethan whispered. The big one got it. The corridor bent sharply, leading into a maintenance area filled with old machinery. Steam hissed from damaged pipes. Overhead lights flickered sporadically. Nora spotted a ladder reaching upward toward a metal hatch. There, that has to lead somewhere. They climbed rapidly. Ethan pushed the hatch. It resisted at first, but then popped open. Warm air rushed in, mixed with the scent of dust and electricity. They climbed out onto a narrow catwalk suspended over a cavernous industrial room. This space was enormous, larger than any mechanical floor Ethan had ever seen in a building. Pipes the size of tree trunks fed into giant humming machines, but many were offline, their surfaces cracked or melted. Nora whispered, "Ethan, this is underneath the building, like a second foundation." He nodded, and now the thing below is breaking through it. From below the catwalk, darkness surged upward like a geyser. The creature had reached the level beneath them. Its tendrils stretched through cracks in the floor. "Searching," Nora pointed. "There, a lift." A rusty industrial elevator stood on the far side of the catwalk. Ethan sprinted across the swaying platform, pulling Nora with him. Behind them, the darkness climbed, reaching for the metal railings, bending them with grotesque strength. They reached the lift and Ethan slammed the control switch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the elevator jerked violently and began rising. Below them, the creature roared, a sound that rattled the entire substructure of Ridgeway Heights. Darkness exploded upward, striking the bottom of the elevator. The floor trembled. Ethan pressed himself against the wall. Nora clung to the railing. The creature whispered from below, "Ethan, I will find you." The elevator rose through the darkness, shaking violently as they ascended toward the unknown floors above. The industrial elevator rattled violently as it ascended through the pitch-black shaft. A metal cage trembling against forces far stronger than its rusted frame was designed to withstand. Ethan Cole clung to the side railing, his knuckles white, while Nora Bennett held the opposite corner, her breath rapid and shaky. The entire structure groaned with each passing second, as though warning them that it had already carried too much weight, witnessed too much horror. The darkness below churned like a living storm. Tendrils of shadow reached upward, striking the metal underside of the elevator with thunderous impacts. Each hit sent shockwaves reverberating through the cage. Ethan felt the vibrations in his teeth. Nora screamed as another tendril slammed upward, bending a portion of the floor. If it breaks through. Ethan finished the thought in his mind but refused to speak it aloud. If the creature broke inside, the elevator would become a coffin. The elevator stuttered, lurching sideways before continuing its slow rise. Nora choked. "It is pulling us down." Ethan checked the control panel. The ancient metal buttons were flickering. The indicator lights jumped between floors in no logical order. Something was overriding the controls. He whispered, "It does not want us going up." A deep roar surged up the shaft, a monstrous resonance that rattled every bolt. The elevator shook more violently, dropping several inches before slamming to a halt. The sudden impact threw both Ethan and Nora against the railing. The creature's voice echoed from below. "Ethan, come back!" Nora grabbed his shoulders. "Do not listen. It wants to control you." The elevator jerked upward again, but only for a moment. Then it stopped entirely. The lights inside flickered once, twice, then died. Darkness swallowed them. Ethan fumbled for his phone. Its screen glowed weakly. The battery drained unnaturally fast. Nora pulled out her own phone, but it refused to turn on at all. The air in the elevator thickened, heavy with the building's static charge. A faint scraping moved along the outside of the elevator walls. Nora whispered, "That is not the big one. That is the smaller shadow." Ethan remembered the thing that crawled along the ceiling earlier, the one that chased them relentlessly, hunting and herding them. The creature that had retreated when the larger being rose. Now it returned, emboldened. The scraping grew louder, circling the cage in frantic bursts. Metal bent inward from several points. Claws, or something like them, shredded the outer panels. Ethan grabbed a rusted metal rod lying by the emergency breaker box. "Hold on to something." A long black limb pierced the elevator wall, slicing through the metal like paper. Nora screamed as she dodged the strike. The shadow limb withdrew, then stabbed again, searching for them. Ethan swung the rod at the hole. The impact sparked briefly. A shriek echoed through the elevator shaft as the limb recoiled. The creature outside scrambled, scraping wildly against the metal cage. Another limb punched through, this time from the door. Ethan swung again, hitting harder, fueled by panic. The limb twitched violently, then retreated. Suddenly, the elevator lurched upward on its own. Nora gasped. "Did you press something?" Ethan shook his head. "No, it is moving by itself." The creature outside screeched with fury, clawing at the rising cage, but unable to cling on as the elevator sped upward faster than before. Ethan and Nora crouched low as the ascent became nearly vertical. The metal frame groaned. Bolts rattled. The lift was never meant to move this fast. They felt as though the shaft itself tilted, guiding them somewhere unnatural. Ethan whispered, "It is taking us where it wants." The lights flickered back on. Not white, red, crimson emergency lighting bathed the elevator interior in an ominous glow. Nora whispered, "Ethan, look!" The floor indicator panel displayed a number that should not exist. Floor 21. There were only 12 floors in Ridgeway Heights. The elevator climbed higher. Floor 22. Floor 23. Ethan shook his head violently. "This is impossible." The numbers flickered faster, skipping between impossible floors. 30, 41, 53. Nora covered her mouth. "It is creating floors." Ethan stared upward, though the ceiling revealed nothing but trembling metal. "Or it is taking us somewhere outside the building, somewhere beneath or above what we know, somewhere that exists only for it." The elevator suddenly jerked to a stop. The lights inside strobed. The doors slid open. Nora whispered, "Ethan, do not step out." But the hallway beyond was unlike any part of Ridgeway Heights. The walls were concrete, but organic veins pulsed beneath their surface, like roots from a living creature. The floor was smooth stone, carved with faint symbols matching those in the chamber below. Ethan swallowed. "This is not a floor. This is part of the containment structure." A cold wind poured into the elevator, carrying faint whispers. "Ethan, Ethan, let me see you." Nora grabbed his arm. "We should not go out." But staying meant waiting for the shadow creature or the massive being below to tear through the elevator. Ethan whispered, "We do not have a choice." He stepped forward. Nora followed reluctantly. The hallway stretched endlessly, curving slightly to the right. Dim lights flickered along the walls, but did not illuminate the end. The air felt strangely thick, as though infused with memory. Ethan felt something tug at his mind, a distant echo. He paused. Nora looked at him. "Ethan, what is it?" He whispered, "I have been here before," but he had not. Not physically. The memory was distant, like a dream, or like something whispered into his mind. They continued down the corridor. Symbols carved into the walls pulsed faintly with each step. Nora's breath quickened. She whispered, "This whole place is responding to you." Ethan did not deny it. He felt watched from every angle. The shadows along the walls trembled, as though holding back something behind thin layers of concrete. A soft moan drifted from deeper down the hall. Nora grabbed his arm. "What was that?" Ethan stepped slowly. A doorway appeared ahead. Not a modern door, but an arch carved directly from stone. He approached cautiously and peered inside. It was a room, circular, unlit, silent, but he recognized it. Nora whispered behind him. "Ethan, this is the mirror room, only it was not the same one. This was older, deeper, more elaborate. Symbols covered every inch of the walls, etched with precision and fear. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, and on the pedestal lay," Ethan choked, "a shard of mirror, not broken randomly, removed deliberately." Nora whispered, "Ethan, that is what it wants, the original piece." He reached toward it instinctively. The shard pulsed with faint dark light. Before he touched it, a whisper crawled from every corner. "Come back! You are almost home." Nora pulled him away violently. "Do not touch it." "Ethan, stop." The room trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. A crack ran across the far wall. Whispers grew louder, layered, desperate. "Ethan, you took my window. Bring it back." The floor underneath them vibrated. A faint dark liquid seeped between the stone tiles. Nora screamed, "Ethan, the big one is coming up." Ethan grabbed her arm. "Run!" They ran back into the hallway as the chamber behind them exploded with roaring darkness. And then the elevator doors slammed shut on their own, leaving them trapped on a floor that should not exist. Ethan Cole stood motionless in the suffocating quiet as the elevator doors slammed shut of their own accord, sealing him and Nora Bennett inside a hallway that did not, by any logic or architecture, belong to Ridgeway Heights. The lights above flickered in strained pulses. The air smelled stale, older than concrete, older than time itself. Nora took a shaky step backward until she touched the wall. Ethan listened to the silence. It was not empty. It felt as though something behind the walls inhaled slowly. "Waiting," Nora whispered. "The elevator left us. It brought us here and left us." Ethan swallowed hard. The elevator did not malfunction. It followed instructions from something stronger than this building, something that wants us here. The corridor stretched into faint darkness, lit only by pale, sickly lights. The architecture was wrong, too symmetrical, too smooth. The curves unnatural. Soft notches ran along the walls like old scars. The symbols etched into the stone pulsed slowly like heartbeats. Ethan stepped closer to one of the glowing runes. He traced its edge with a trembling fingertip. The symbol responded with a faint echo that vibrated through his bones. Nora whispered, "It recognizes you." Ethan turned away. "We need to keep moving. Staying here will get us killed." The hallway branched ahead. One path curved left and sloped downward, while the other tilted slightly upward. A cold breeze swept from the downward tunnel, carrying faint whispers, familiar ones. "Ethan, Ethan, come back!" Nora grabbed his hand. "We are not going down there. We have to go up, away from it." Ethan nodded, though a strange pull urged him downward, as though something cherished the idea of him obeying the whisper. They took the upward corridor. The floor was smooth stone, the walls oddly warm to the touch. The symbols glowed brighter the deeper they went. Ethan felt a strange pressure in his chest, a sense of expectation, like stepping into a memory that was not his own. Nora whispered, "Ethan, do you hear that?" He did, a faint rhythmic sound, not whispers, not claws, footsteps, human footsteps coming from farther ahead. He froze and pulled Nora behind a large pillar. They waited. The footsteps grew louder, slow, heavy, too too measured, too calm. The air thickened with dread as the source approached the bend in the hallway. Nora mouthed silently. Not human. Ethan felt it too. A figure emerged around the corner. A man, or something wearing the shape of one. He walked with stiff movements, head tilted as though the neck had once broken. His eyes were hollow black pits reflecting no light. Nora's hand clamped Ethan's arm. The figure spoke with a voice fractured as shattered glass. "Do not run. It will chase you." Ethan stepped backwards slowly. The figure took another step, its movements jerking. It said nothing else. Instead, it raised a trembling hand and pointed at Ethan. He heard the creature's voice layered inside the man's broken tone. "Let me in." Nora pulled Ethan. "Go now." They sprinted back down the hallway, the figure staggering into pursuit. Its footsteps dragged unevenly, but its speed increased with each step. Ethan and Nora turned a corner, but the corridor behind them stretched unnaturally, like the building fought to keep them close. Ethan whispered, "It is warping the hallway." Nora screamed, "Run faster." A doorway appeared on their left, a tall frame carved into the stone. Ethan shoved it open. Darkness greeted them. A room, silent, still. They entered and pushed the heavy door shut. Nora leaned against it as something slammed from the other side. The impact rattled dust from the ceiling. Ethan held the door with all his strength. The pounding continued, then stopped. Nora whispered, "Did it leave?" Ethan shook his head slowly. "No, it is waiting." They turned from the door and froze. The room was circular, illuminated by a faint white glow emanating from cracks in the floor. Dozens of metal plaques covered the walls. Each plaque was engraved with a name and date. Some plates were old, others new, far too new. Nora approached one and read aloud, "John Mallory, missing 12 years ago." Ethan stepped toward another plaque and brushed dirt from its surface. "Henry Voss, missing 23 years ago." The third plaque made him stop breathing. "Emily Cole, missing 32 years ago." Nora covered her mouth. "Ethan, that is your mother name." He nodded slowly. His mother had disappeared when he was 6. No explanation, no evidence, no answers. And yet here her name was engraved inside a room that should not exist. Another plaque caught his eye. The metal was still clean, as though added recently. "Ethan Cole." Nora gasped. "Ethan, it already made one for you." He stepped back, his chest tightening. This place remembers its victims. The floor pulsed slowly. The cracks glowed brighter. A hum vibrated through the room. Ethan knelt beside one of the glowing seams. The light flickered like a heartbeat. Nora whispered, "This is not a memorial room. It is a ledger, and it is adding you." A faint whisper seeped from the cracks. "Ethan." He stumbled away from the glowing fissure. The voice rose again. "Ethan, you were always meant to return." The room trembled violently. The plaques rattled. The door shook as the creature outside pounded harder. Nora screamed, "Ethan, run!" A slab of stone dislodged from the ceiling and crashed to the floor. The plaques flickered with fresh illumination, their names glowing in sequence as though being recited by the building itself. "Ethan, Emily Cole, John Mallory, Henry Voss." Nora yelled, "It is reading the names." The cracks widened. Darkness seeped upward, reaching for Ethan's ankles. Nora grabbed him. and pulled him toward the opposite side of the chamber, where a narrow stairwell spiraled upward. "Go, now!" They climbed quickly as the room below exploded in a roar of collapsing stone. Darkness surged up the stairs, chasing them. The stairwell twisted in impossible angles, as though trying to stretch longer. Ethan climbed faster. Nora cried, "Do not look back." But Ethan did. Below them, something massive climbed the stairwell, not the smaller shadow, the large one, the thing that had risen from beneath the building. Its shape pressed against the walls, distorting the stone. Tendrils of darkness reached upward, trying to catch his feet. Ethan screamed, "Nora, faster!" The stairwell erupted into blinding light as they reached the top. Ethan shoved Nora out onto the landing. The moment he stepped through, the stairwell behind them snapped shut like a mouth closing. The light faded. They stood inside a hallway they recognized. Nora whispered, "Ethan, this is the 12th floor." But it was wrong. Every door along the hall stood open, dark, silent. The lights flickered weakly, and at the far end, facing them, stood Ethan's apartment door, wide open. Nora trembled. "Ethan, it brought us back." A whisper drifted down the hall. "Ethan, let me in." And something moved inside his apartment. The 12th floor hallway stretched out before Ethan Cole and Nora Bennett, like a memory twisted into an imitation of reality. Every door stood open, yawning in silent darkness. The lights flickered weakly, humming with an electric instability that felt less like malfunction and more like anticipation. The air carried a tension that pressed into their lungs with each shallow breath. Nora clutched Ethan's arm. "Ethan, this is not the same hallway. It looks like it, but it is not." He nodded. His throat felt tight. The hallway smelled different now. Cold, metallic, as though something had sterilized the entire floor of human presence. No footsteps, no echoes, no distant noises from neighboring tenants. Just silence, a suffocating silence. At the far end, Ethan's apartment door stood open wider than before. A dark rectangle cut into the washed-out glow of the corridor lights. The shadow inside did not move, but pulsed faintly like a lung inhaling. Nora whispered, "We cannot go in there." But they had nowhere else to go. Behind them lay the impossible floors. The mirror room, the subterranean monstrosity, and the entity that had chased them relentlessly. Forward was the apartment that once belonged to Ethan and now belonged to something else. A whisper drifted from inside the doorway. "Ethan!" Nora flinched violently. Ethan felt a cold pulse run through his body. His name did not echo. It did not float. It simply appeared in his mind as clearly as if someone whispered directly behind his ear. Nora tugged his sleeve. "It is baiting you. It wants you inside. It has always wanted you inside." Ethan stared into the dark room. "I think it already knows everything about me. My name, my mind, my memories." Nora shook her head. "No, it wants you for one thing, the mirror shard." Ethan touched his pocket where the shard faintly vibrated like a heartbeat. They had escaped the chamber before the creature fully formed. But the shard had come with him as though drawn to him, or as though he had taken it unknowingly. "I did not take it," Ethan whispered, "but it thinks I did." Nora pulled him back. "We have to get out of this hallway." But the hallway shifted. A low rumble rolled through the floor, and the walls constricted slightly as though breathing inward. The doors began to creak, all at once, folding further open or shutting slightly depending on unseen whims. Ethan whispered, "It is watching us." A faint dragging sound came from the darkness of his apartment. Fabric against floor, something brushing walls, something moving slowly because it did not need to hurry. Nora swallowed. "Ethan, what is in there?" Ethan stepped forward. Despite every instinct telling him to flee, something deep within him pulsed with dread and recognition. "My mother disappeared here when I was 6, Ethan whispered. "This building holds memories. It remembers its victims. That room remembers too." Nora's eyes widened. "You think she saw it too?" Ethan nodded with trembling certainty. He moved closer to the doorway. The air inside was cold enough to numb his fingertips. The faint outlines of his furniture remained exactly where he left them, but everything looked wrong, distorted, as though the apartment were a memory of itself rather than the real thing. He stepped inside. Nora stayed at the threshold. "Ethan." He raised a hand for silence. Living room was dim, though a single lamp glowed with a weak yellow light. Dust particles floated in the air, though this dust felt alive, drifting like spores. He moved deeper. The room pulsed with faint rhythmic energy. On the far wall, the window loomed tall and silent. Fingerprints covered the glass. Hundreds layered over one another like a collage of desperate touches. Some streaked downward, others pressed inwards. Shadows clung to the fingerprints like fresh ink. Nora whispered from the doorway, "Ethan, please come back out." He stepped closer to the window. As he approached the glass, the fingerprints shifted slightly as though reacting to his presence. A faint ripple moved across the pane, like something breathing behind it. Ethan felt cold dread twist into his chest. The window was alive. A whisper rose behind him, low, velvet, close. "Ethan." He spun around. A figure stood beside the couch, tall, human-shaped, but wrong in every way. The edges of the figure blurred into the air like smoke. No face, no features, just a tall silhouette that crooked slightly as though observing him. Nora gasped behind him, "Ethan, do not speak to it." But Ethan could not move. The shadow stepped forward. The apartment door slammed shut, trapping Nora outside. She screamed, "Ethan, Ethan, open it." But he could not. The creature leaned closer. Its presence pressed into his mind, thick and suffocating. It did not have eyes, but he felt watched by 1,000 unseen ones. A voice filled the room and his skull simultaneously. "Bring me back my window," Ethan whispered. "I did not take it." The creature raised one elongated arm, pointing directly at Ethan's pocket. The mirror shard vibrated violently, responding to the entity voice. Nora pounded on the door. "Ethan, get out of there." The creature tilted its head in a grotesque imitation of curiosity. "You opened the path." Ethan shook his head. "No, I did not." The creature's arm stretched unnaturally long long, reaching toward him. Ethan stumbled backward toward the window. The glass behind him pulsed with shadow. Nora's voice cracked from the hall. "Ethan, run!" But the creature stepped closer. Behind Ethan, the window began to bulge inward, as though something pressed through the glass from outside. A massive hand-shaped shadow scraped the pane. The creature whispered, "Let me in." Ethan clutched the shard in his pocket. It grew hot, burning. A pulse of energy pushed against his palm. The creature hissed, recoiling slightly. The shadow hand on the window withdrew momentarily. Ethan pulled the shard into view. The fragment glowed with a faint dark light. The runes etched into the silver surface flickered. The creature froze. Nora shouted, "Ethan, that shard controls it." Ethan yelled, "What do you want from me?" The creature responded instantly. The room shook to finish what was started. The window cracked violently behind him. The creature lunged. Ethan fell sideways, gripping the shard with both hands. Light, dark yet searing, burst outward from the shard, striking the creature in the chest. A deafening scream rattled the apartment. The window exploded outward, sending glass across the room. Wind and shadows flooded the apartment like a storm. Nora screamed, "Ethan!" The creature dissolved momentarily, then reformed its silhouette, trembling. "Bring me back my window." The shard grew hotter still. Ethan screamed as it burned his hand. The creature advanced. Nora forced the apartment door open at last and rushed inside. "Ethan, run! Now!" They sprinted toward the hallway, but the corridor behind them warped, stretching longer. Shadows crawled across the walls, chasing them. The apartment shook violently as the creature roared. Darkness splintered from the window frame, reaching like claws. Ethan and Nora dove out the doorway and slammed it shut. The entire 12th floor inhaled sharply. Lights flickered. Shadows stretched. Something massive pressed against the apartment door from inside. Ethan collapsed to the floor, holding the shard tightly despite the burn marks. Nora knelt beside him. "Ethan, it will not stop." He stared at the door, trembling violently. "I know." Behind the door, the whisper rose again, deep and hungry. "Ethan, let me in." The 12th floor trembled beneath Ethan Cole and Nora Bennett as they staggered backward from the apartment door. The creature inside pounded against the wood with a rhythm that did not belong to anything human. Every strike sent cracks spiderwebbing across the frame. The lights flickered in shaky pulses, as if the entire floor were exhaling in fear. Nora grabbed Ethan's wrist. "We cannot stay here. That thing will tear the door off." Ethan nodded, chest heaving. The shard in his hand throbbed with heat, pulsing like a living heart. Behind them, the hallway continued to warp, its length stretching and shrinking in subtle distortions that made Ethan feel nauseous. The building itself was unstable, bending under the presence that hunted them. Nora pointed down the hall. "The stairwell. If we can get down to the lobby, maybe there's a way out." Ethan took a step, but the creature inside the apartment slammed the door again. The wood bent outward. He whispered, "If it gets out of that room, the whole building will fall apart." Nora yanked his arm. "Then we move before it does." They sprinted toward the stairwell at the far end of the hall. Every opened apartment door they passed whispered with faint voices, carrying echoes of people who once lived left there. Ethan heard his own name drift from one of them, so faint he almost missed it. Ethan, Ethan! He forced himself not to look. The stairwell door was metal, scratched and dented, but it hadn't yet been touched by whatever force twisted the rest of the floor. Nora shoved it open. A blast of cold air hit them. Ethan froze. The stairwell was wrong. Instead of concrete steps and railings, a spiraling descent stretched far below them like a corkscrew carved into darkness. No lights, no exit signs, only a faint glow far beneath them, pulsing slowly like a signal or heartbeat. The steps were made of stone, uneven and chipped as if carved by hand centuries ago. Nora breathed. "This is not the building's stairwell," Ethan whispered. It replaced it. Behind them, the apartment door burst open. The creature roared, its shadow spilling into the hallway. Nora shoved Ethan into the stairwell. "Run!" They descended the staircase, their shoes scraping stone. The stairwell pulsed with a low hum, vibrating through the walls. Ethan felt the shard heating again. The creature's presence filled the air with crushing pressure. Nora shouted, "Faster!" A deafening crack echoed above as the creature entered the stairwell. Its shadow spilled downward, stretching impossibly far. Ethan felt the air grow colder as the shadow approached. They rushed down flight after flight. The stairwell twisted in ways that broke geometry. At one turn, the ceiling became the floor for several seconds before inverting again. Nora stumbled, but Ethan caught her. "Do not look at the walls," he warned. "They move when you look." The glow below grew stronger, or they were getting closer. The hum strengthened until Ethan felt it thudding inside his skull. Nora whispered, "Ethan, something is down there." He nodded grimly. He already knew. At last, the staircase ended abruptly at a stone platform overlooking a massive chamber far beneath the building's foundation. The chamber was circular, its walls carved with runes that glowed faintly. In the center was a pit, and within it something huge shifted. The creature below, the same one that had risen from the fissure, the same one that chased them through impossible floors. It lay curled on itself, pulsing with slow, monstrous breath. Tendrils of darkness seeped from its form, sliding up the pit walls like smoke. Nora whispered, "It is waiting for us." Ethan felt the shard tug toward the pit. The creature above them shrieked from the stairwell. Its shadow raced downward along the walls. Ethan and Nora sprinted from the platform into a narrow stone corridor. The shadows followed with unnatural speed, spreading like spilt oil. The corridor widened into a rectangular chamber lined with stone pillars. Strange carvings covered them. Ethan paused, running his fingers over the etchings. They were identical to the runes on the mirror shard. "This place," Ethan murmured. "It was built around the mirror." Nora pointed toward the far wall. "Another doorway. Let us go." They ran through the chamber. The shadows surged behind them, swallowing the light. Nora screamed as a tendril nearly brushed her ankle. Ethan pulled her toward the door. Inside the next room stood something unexpected. A staircase made of metal, modern, human, as though someone had built a way out long after the stone corridors existed. Ethan grabbed the railing. "This leads upward. We can get back to the real floors." But as they climbed, Ethan heard a soft scraping above. Something waited. A figure sat at the top of the staircase, hunched and trembling. At first, Ethan thought it was a survivor, but when the figure lifted its head, he stopped breathing. John Mallory. His skin was gray, stretched tight over bone. His eyes were hollow black pits. His mouth opened in a slow, jerking motion. "You should not be here," Nora gasped. You disappeared years ago." Mallory shook his head violently. "No, I was taken like the others. And now..." His voice changed, layered, deep. "Now you are mine." He lunged. Nora screamed as Mallory's body twisted unnaturally. Ethan swung the shard instinctively. The dark light pulsed outward. Mallory's form crackled with energy before collapsing, but he did not vanish. He dissolved into shadow. Ethan whispered. It was using him. The stairwell shook violently. The shadow creature roared below. The darkness surged upward, filling the staircase behind them. Ethan and Nora climbed frantically. The metal steps groaned under the pressure. At last they reached another landing. A hallway stretched ahead. This one looked normal, real. The walls painted beige, ceiling lights steady. "We are back," Nora breathed. But Ethan noticed something wrong. This was not the 12th floor. It was the 5th. He whispered. "It dropped us into another real level of the building." Nora pointed down the hallway. "There, the exit to the main stairwell. If we can get outside." A loud crash interrupted her. The shadow creature burst through the wall, tearing plaster and pipes as though they were paper. It filled the hallway completely. Nora screamed. Ethan grabbed her arm and ran. The creature's tendrils slammed into the walls, shattering lights. The hallway darkened. The air thickened to a choking weight. They reached the main stairwell door and slammed through it. The stairwell looked normal again. Concrete steps, rails, emergency lights. Nora gasped. "This is real. This is real." They sprinted downward. But as they descended floor after floor, Ethan heard whispers rising from every direction, from the walls, the steps, the vents. "Ethan, Ethan, Ethan." The voices changed tone, familiar voices. His mother's, John Mallory's, even his own. "Let me in." Nora grabbed his hand tighter, but kept running. The stairwell door on one of the floors creaked open on its own. Ethan froze. A silhouette stood inside, tall, still, watching them. Nora pulled him harder. "Do not look. Keep going." They reached the lobby at last. The lights flickered violently. The glass front doors rattled, as though something outside pushed against them. Ethan stared. Fingerprints smeared every inch of the glass. Thousands layered over one another in frantic patterns. Nora whispered, "Ethan." It was never outside. He nodded slowly. It was always inside. The doors bulged inward. The glass cracked. The creature roared from the stairwell above, and the building exhaled. The lobby of Ridgeway Heights no longer resembled the familiar ground floor Ethan Cole and Nora Bennett once walked through with the simple expectation of elevators and mailboxes. What stood before them now was a warped impersonation, like a memory half rotted and reconstructed by something that did not understand humanity reality, but attempted to mimic it. The glass doors at the entrance bulged inward. Every inch of the surface was smeared with fingerprints, thousands layered over thousands. Some small like children, some impossibly large, others long and thin, like they belonged to hands with too many joints. The cracks continued to widen, spider webbing across the panes with soft snapping sounds that echoed like brittle bones breaking. Nora backed away slowly. It wants out. Ethan, if it gets out. He shook his head, his chest constricted with fear. No, it does not want out. If it wanted to escape this building, it would have done so years ago. It wants me. It wants the shard. And it wants the door opened on its terms. The shard throbbed in his palm like a second heartbeat. Lines of heat traveled up his wrist and into his arm. He tried to ignore the sensation, but the shard pulsed harder, responding to the creature on the other side of the lobby. A low groaning sound rolled through the building, deep enough to rattle ceiling tiles and shake dust loose from vents. The lights flickered in a series of rapid blinks, struggling against a force that pulled electricity away like a hungry predator. Nora clutched his arm. Ethan, something is wrong with the floor. The tile beneath their feet strained and cracked as though a giant hand pressed from underneath. The surface heaved upward, then slammed back down with a violent tremor that sent them stumbling. Nora fell to her knees before Ethan pulled her up. Ethan, we cannot stay in the lobby. This place, it is breathing. He nodded grimly. The walls expanded and contracted in subtle rhythmic motions. The vents exhaled warm air in pulses. The entire building seemed alive, responding to the creature's presence like a body reacting to a wound. A loud metallic screech echoed from the stairwell behind them. The shadow creature that had chased them earlier burst through the wall, tearing open plaster and steel as it emerged onto the lobby floor. Its form was still roughly humanoid, but melted and rippling as though held together by threads of darkness. Ethan froze. The creature stalked forward, each limb twisting in slow, heavy arcs. Nora cried, "Ethan, move!" But Ethan recognized something in its movements, hesitation. It was afraid, not of them, of something else. It kept glancing toward the entrance doors, as though expecting the larger being to push through at any moment. The creature shrieked, a sound like rusted metal grinding against concrete. Ethan stepped backward. Nora pointed toward the back of the lobby. There, service hallway. If we can get behind the electrical room, maybe we can shut the building down or cut the power to whatever is feeding this thing. Ethan nodded. They ran. The shadow creature darted forward with startling speed, its limbs cracking like whips. Nora screamed as a tendril grazed the wall beside her, leaving behind streaks of black residue that hissed like burning tar. They pushed through the service door and stumbled into a dim maintenance corridor. Pipes lined the ceiling, and water dripped steadily into rusted drains. The air tasted metallic and damp, The corridor stretched far deeper than the building should allow. Once again, the structure warped into impossible geometry. Nora whispered, "This place is not right. This is not part of the original building." Ethan nodded. The shard pulsed in his hand again, pulling him forward, guiding him towards something further inside. Or someone. They ran deeper into the corridor. The walls vibrated with a low hum, and the flickering lights grew dimmer with each step. At the end of the hall was a heavy steel door with no handle, just a small rectangular slit through which faint reddish light leaked. Nora approached first. "What is this place?" Ethan stared at the door. It felt familiar, not because he had seen it before, but because the shard vibrated violently, as though recognizing it. Suddenly the steel door clicked, unlocked by something on the other side. Ethan stepped back. Nora grabbed his arm tightly. The door slowly creaked open on its own, revealing a small room bathed in deep red glow. Inside sat an old generator, but not the kind used to power the building. This one was different, older, bulkier, built from machinery Ethan had never seen before. Cables stretched from it into the concrete walls like veins pumping life into the structure. Nora whispered, "Ethan, this is not a generator." Ethan walked closer. It emitted a faint, rhythmic hum that matched the pulsing of the shard. The machine resonated with it, reacting like a tuning fork recognizing a vibration. The realization hit him. This machine powers the containment system, the creature, the mirror, everything in this building. The power is not electrical, it is something else. Walls trembled violently. The shadow creature burst into the corridor behind them, screeching as it crouched low, cowering from the reddish light pouring out of the generator room. "It fears this place," Nora said. Ethan swallowed. "Then this is how we fight it." He approached the generator's control panel. Strange runes were etched into the surface. They matched the ones on the mirror shard. The shard burned his palm again. Nora stepped beside him. "Can you shut it down?" Ethan nodded slowly. "I think so, but if I do, everything holding that creature back will collapse." Nora's voice cracked. "Ethan, if you do not shut it down, it will kill us and everyone else." He pressed the shard against the panel. It reacted instantly. The runes ignited with dark light. The entire building screamed. The lights exploded in showers of sparks. The floor shook violently. Pipes burst overhead, drenching them in cold water. The shadow creature behind them writhed in agony, its form collapsing in on itself like melting tar. Nora shouted over the deafening noise, "Ethan, the doors!" The lobby doors shattered outward in a single thunderous blow. Glass rained across the floor. Darkness poured inside like a tidal wave. The massive creature outside surged into the lobby, its shape filling the entrance in an impossible mass of shadow and tendril. Ethan gasped. "It is free." The creature roared as the containment system collapsed entirely. The walls cracked, the ceiling buckled, pieces of concrete fell like rain. Nora pulled Ethan toward the maintenance corridor. "Run!" They sprinted as the building tore itself apart. The ground heaved upward upward. The floor split open behind them. The shadow creature in the lobby crawled through the cracks, its limbs stretching in pursuit. They ran deeper into the corridor until they reached an emergency ladder leading upward. Nora shouted, "Ethan, climb!" He grabbed the ladder and ascended. Nora followed close behind. Below them, the corridor filled with darkness. The monstrous presence rose through the building, its roar shaking every bolt. As they climbed, Ethan felt the shard pulsing violently in his pocket. It was calling, responding, resonating. Nora gasped, "Ethan, something is above us." They looked up simultaneously. A face stared down from the opening at the top of the ladder, hollow, familiar, his mother's. Her lips did not move, but her voice echoed inside Ethan's skull. "Ethan, let me in," Nora screamed. "Ethan, do not look at it. Keep climbing." The face dissolved into shadow. The darkness above them thickened. The building exhaled one final time, and the ladder shook violently as something enormous climbed after them. The ladder vibrated as Ethan Cole and Nora Bennett climbed, each metal rung rattling beneath their weight as the monstrosity rising from below crawled after them. The echoes of its limbs scraped the steel frame, producing a sound like claws dragging across bone. Dust rained from above. The building swayed from side to side, as though something immense pushed against its outer walls from all directions. Nora gasped for breath. "Ethan, how far up does this ladder go?" He gritted his teeth. "As far as it needs to. Keep climbing. Do not look down." But looking down did not matter. The thing climbing after them did not require sight to be felt. Its presence filled the air like a cold vacuum. The shadows rising from below seemed to bend toward Ethan and Nora with purpose, drawn to the shard pulsing in Ethan's pocket. Nora shouted, "The top! I can see light." "Ethan, we are almost out." A square opening at the top glowed with faint bluish light. It looked like natural sky, but Ethan no longer trusted the building to present anything real. Still they climbed. The ladder shook harder as the creature lunged again. Ethan nearly lost his grip. Nora screamed as she slipped for a moment before catching herself. Ethan climbed faster. His burned hand stung with every motion. The shard pulsed violently inside his pocket. The closer they got to the opening, the hotter it grew, reacting to something above. They reached the top. Nora scrambled onto the roof first. Ethan pulled himself up as the creature hand snapped at his ankle. He kicked back instinctively, connecting with something solid, then rolled onto the rooftop. The roof was not the roof he knew. Gone were the air conditioning units and satellite dishes. Instead, the surface stretched flat and empty, made of black stone that reflected a faint sheen under a sky that was somehow too dark and too bright at the same time. Mist crawled across the surface like living tendrils. Nora whispered, "This is not the real roof." Ethan shook his head, chest rising and falling rapidly. "No, it is something else. Something it built to keep us here." A loud thud echoed behind them. The creature climbed out of the ladder shaft. It rose tall, unfolding itself like wet cloth being shaken out. It towered over them now, its limbs stretched unnaturally long. its body billowing with shadow like smoke caught in a storm. Nora backed away. Ethan, it followed us. Ethan nodded. It always would. The creature took one step forward. The stone roof beneath it cracked. Ethan pulled Nora as they retreated toward the center of the rooftop. But the roof stretched impossibly far in every direction now, expanding as though sensing Ethan's need for escape and countering it. Above them, the sky flickered like a failing light bulb. Clouds twisted backward, swirling in patterns no natural storm could produce. A deep rumble vibrated the air. Nora whispered, "Something is wrong with the sky." Ethan looked up and felt his breath stop. A giant silhouette hovered behind the clouds. Massive, featureless, watching, the shape of a face outlined by lightning that did not flicker but held steady like a painting across the heavens. It was the same face that had peered down from the top of the ladder. His mother, or a perfect imitation made from memory and malice. Her voice filled the air without sound. "Ethan, let me in." Nora shook her head violently. "Do not look at it." "Ethan, focus." The creature stepped closer. Its limbs cracked like splitting wood. The shard pulsed harder, responding to the massive presence above. Ethan clutched it in his fist. The shard burned hotter, sending sharp pain through his arm. Nora yelled, "What is it doing to you, Ethan?" He gritted his teeth. "It wants the shard, not me. The shard is the key. It opened everything." The giant silhouette in the sky shifted. The clouds parted slightly, revealing two empty eye sockets descending slowly like they were scanning the rooftop. The pressure in the air grew heavier. Nora struggled to breathe. "Ethan, we have to do something. We cannot outrun it." He nodded. "We do not run." He stepped forward toward the creature. Nora grabbed his arm, but he pulled free. "Ethan, what are you doing?" He raised the shard. The runes engraved into its surface glowed dark purple, swirling like ink suspended in liquid. The creature recoiled slightly. Ethan understood. This shard came from the mirror that controls them. He shouted at the creature, "You are afraid of this. You know what it means." The creature twisted its head in an unnatural arc as though considering him. Its shadow tendrils slithered across the stone roof, reaching toward Ethan, but stopping just short of touching him. Nora whispered, "Ethan, it is waiting." He nodded. "It knows the shard can destroy it." The sky cracked. A thunderous sound tore through the air as a long fissure split the heavens open, revealing a void of swirling darkness beyond. The giant face leaned through the crack, its hollow eyes fixed directly on Ethan. Nora screamed, "Ethan, it is coming through." The rooftop trembled. Cracks shot across the black stone beneath their feet. Pieces broke away at the edges, falling into an abyss that had not been there moments earlier. Ethan tightened his grip on the shard. His voice trembled. "Enough! You want this. You came through the mirror for it. Then come take it." The creature lunged at him. Nora screamed, "Ethan, move!" But Ethan stood still. At the last second, he stabbed the shard forward. Dark light erupted from its surface, exploding outward in a shockwave that sent both him and the creature spiraling across the roof. The sky roared as the fissure widened. The giant face in the sky screamed without sound. Nora crawled toward Ethan. "Are you okay?" He nodded weakly. The creature reformed itself, rising slowly. But something was wrong. The dark light from the shard had burned holes through its silhouette. Its limbs shook. Its torso flickered like an unstable projection. Nora whispered, "You hurt it." Ethan stood, feeling new resolve harden inside him. "Then we end it." He raised the shard again. The runes glowed brighter than before. The sky rippled violently as the mother-shaped entity leaned further through the crack, its form warping the clouds. Nora pointed. "Ethan, the sky, it is breaking apart." The fissure widened, splitting into jagged branches of nothingness. Through the cracks, Ethan saw glimpses of the mirror chamber, the stone corridors, the massive pit beneath the building, all connected, all part of the same structure. Ethan breathed. It is all one place, one creature, one mind, all reaching for this. The shard pulsed violently. The creature lunged again. This time it moved faster, desperate. Tendrils wrapped around Ethan's arm, burning ice cold through his skin. He screamed. Nora ran at the creature, swinging a broken piece of metal pipe. She struck its form, but the object passed through shadow, slowing it only slightly. Ethan fell to his knees. The creature reached for the shard. At that exact moment, the sky face whispered again. "Ethan, let me in," he shouted through pain. "No!" He slammed the shard against the rooftop. The stone shattered. A beam of dark light shot upward into the sky, slicing through the giant face like a blade. The face split down the middle, dissolving into dust that rained across the rooftop. The creature shrieked in agony, its form unraveling. Tendrils cracked apart and dissolved into smoke. The rooftop itself collapsed. Ethan grabbed Nora's hand as the surface beneath them split open. The entire world turned black. Darkness swallowed everything, not the absence of light, but a suffocating void thick as liquid, pressing against Ethan Cole and Nora Bennett as they fell endlessly into a space that had no gravity, no direction, no sound. The shards of the collapsing rooftop dissolved into nothing around them. Every fragment that had once been part of Ridgeway Heights evaporated like dust in an unseen current. Ethan reached blindly through the darkness until he felt Nora's hand. He squeezed tightly. "Nora, are you here?" Her reply trembled through the void. "Ethan, I cannot see anything. Are we dying?" "No," Ethan whispered. "I do not think so," because the shard was still burning. A faint pulse of dark purple light flickered through the void, radiating from his closed hand. Each pulse created ripples in the darkness, like waves moving through an endless ocean. With each wave, Ethan felt something shift around them. The void responded. "Move toward the light," he said, "but there is no up or down. Then we go where it takes us." They drifted through the void, pulled by the pulses of energy the shard emitted. Slowly, faint shapes emerged from the black. Outlines first, then murky details. The void was not empty. It was full of boundaries too vast and too strange to comprehend. Nora grasped Ethan's arm. "Ethan, look!" A massive structure materialized beneath them. It was not a floor, nor a landscape. It was something like a mirror, though broken into thousands of jagged plates. plate. Each plate reflected a different scene. Some scenes were of Ridgeway Heights, others were of strange stone halls, others still showed impossible spaces Ethan had never seen. A fractured world made of memories. Nora whispered, "Are those places?" Ethan nodded. "I think this is the inside of the mirror, of whatever created it." They descended toward the surface. As they approached, the shards of reflected scenes shifted, rearranging themselves like puzzle pieces reacting to their presence. Scenes shattered and reformed in patterns, as though choosing which reality to display. They touched down gently on one of the mirrored plates. Under their feet lay a reflection of the 12th floor hallway, only it was wrong, like a distorted replica. The reflections shimmered, rippling with every breath Ethan took. Nora knelt and touched the surface. The world we were in. It is just one fragment. Ethan looked around. The mirrored structure extended infinitely in every direction. A world of pieces, fragments of other worlds, fragments of people. It was not a place. It was a mine. Nora grabbed his sleeve suddenly. "Ethan, someone is here." A figure stood on a distant shard, its silhouette outlined by the faint ambient glow of the void. It walked slowly toward them across the mirrored surface, but its reflection warped unnaturally, as though its shadow outran its body. Nora's voice shook. "It is not the creature again. Please tell me it is not." Ethan stared. "No, it is smaller." As the figure approached, it became clearer. John Mallory, but not twisted and hollow like before. He looked human again, though his body flickered faintly around the edges like a glitch in reality. Mallory lifted a trembling hand. "You made it inside." I tried to warn you." Nora stepped back. "You are dead. We saw you die." Mallory nodded slowly. "I died years ago, but not in the way you think. When the mirror took me, it kept me here, between worlds, between reflections." Ethan approached cautiously. "What is this place?" Mallory gestured around them. "This is the origin. This is where the building draws its shape. This is where the creature was born. It is not a monster. It is a vessel, a shell for something older, something that lives in the cracks between reality." Nora whispered. The face in the sky, Mallory's flickering form dimmed. "That is the true one. The weaver of windows, the one who sees through reflections. It cannot cross fully into your world, but it can send pieces, echoes. That creature you fought was one of them." Ethan lifted the shard, then this shard. Mallory's face twisted painfully. "That shard is a broken piece of its anchor, the mirror chamber, the core of its structure. Without it, the weaver cannot open away. With it, it will not stop chasing you." Ethan clenched his teeth. "Then how do we end it?" Mallory pointed toward the horizon, toward an impossibly tall tower made of dark reflective stone, rising from the mirrored landscape. It stretched so high it disappeared into the darkness above. The mirror heart is there. The first reflection, the source. Break it, and its reach ends. Nora's voice lowered. "And if we do not?" Mallory stepped closer. Then your world becomes another reflection, another piece of this place. A violent tremor shook the mirrored field. Cracks shot across the shard they stood on. Nora grabbed Ethan's arm. It found us again. Darkness erupted from beneath the mirrored surface. Not smoke, not shadow, something thicker, a tide of void rising like a flood. Tendrils burst upward, each one taller than a tree. They groped blindly, searching for them. Mallory shouted, "Run! Go! Get to the heart before it seals you inside." The mirrored shards began tilting, shifting like sliding tectonic plates. Ethan grabbed Nora's hand and sprinted toward the tower. The ground moved beneath them, rearranging its reflections. Some shards showed Ethan's face, others showed Nora, others showed the creature waiting to swallow them whole. Nora gasped, "Ethan, it is rewriting the path." The tower grew nearer with each step, but so did the void. The tendrils surged forward, striking shards that shattered into black dust. Mallory stood behind them, raising his arms as though trying to push the darkness back. His final words echoed through the void. "Do not let it touch the shard. If it does, everything ends." A tendril swept across Mallory's form. He vanished instantly, dissolving like smoke. Nora screamed, "Ethan!" He pulled her faster. The tower loomed above them, now an enormous structure carved from a single piece of reflective stone. Its surface rippled with distorted reflections of their faces. Ethan reached the base of the tower. He pressed a hand against the cold surface. The shard pulsed violently. A doorway formed, splitting open with a sound like breaking glass. They rushed inside. A spiraling staircase twisted upward into darkness. Runes etched into the walls glowed faint purple, matching the shard's pulse. Whispered, "Ethan, how high does it go?" "As far as it needs to." The void roared outside. The tower shook. Ethan grabbed Nora's hand. They climbed. Behind them, the doorway sealed shut, and the weaver of windows screamed from the darkness outside. The tower sealed itself behind Ethan Cole and Nora Bennett, with a sound that resembled 1,000 shards of glass, locking together into one unbreakable piece. The vibrations pulsed through the reflective stone, humming with a rhythm that matched the shard in Ethan's pocket. They stood in near darkness, the only illumination coming from faint purple runes, spiraling upward along the interior walls, like veins running through a living organism. Nora placed a hand on the cold stone. "Ethan, this place feels alive." He nodded. The entire mirror world was breathing, watching, listening, and the tower was its heart. Each pulse of the stone matched the shard's throbbing heat against Ethan's palm, as though the shard were reconnecting with its source. Ahead of them, the staircase twisted upward in a spiral so steep it vanished into complete blackness. The steps were carved from reflective plates that showed warped versions of their reflections. Ethan saw his own face staring back at him, eyes hollow, jaw unhinged, smiling in a way he had never smiled. He stepped back instinctively. Nora whispered, "It is not us that the reflections show. It is what the Weaver wants us to see." Ethan clenched his jaw. "Then we do not look. We climb." They began the ascent, Each step shifted under their feet, warping slightly as though adjusting to their weight. The staircase was silent, except for the faint hum of energy that grew stronger the higher they climbed. Halfway up the first rotation, the reflections on the steps changed. Instead of distorted faces, the mirrored plates now showed scenes, moments pulled from Ethan's memory. His childhood bedroom, his mother sitting on the edge of his bed, brushing his hair as the window rattled behind her. The night she disappeared, Nora touched his arm. "Ethan, do not stop." But Ethan could not breathe. On the step below him, the reflection changed again. Now it showed his mother standing in the corridor of Ridgeway Heights. She turned her head slowly toward him, her eyes hollow black pits. "Ethan, let me in." Ethan stumbled backward. Nora caught him. "Ethan, it is not real. Keep moving." He forced himself upward. The reflections followed them, shifting to Nora's past now. Her father yelling. A hospital room. A version of Nora curled into herself in a chair. Trembling, she froze. Ethan cupped her face. "Nora, it is not real. It wants to make us stop climbing." Nora nodded shakily. Right. Keep going." They continued upward. The staircase narrowed. The hum grew louder, vibrating Ethan's ribs. The air thinned, forcing them to breathe harder. Shadows slithered along the walls, moving just at the edge of vision. Nora whispered, "Something is following us." Ethan did not want to turn around, but instinct forced him to look. Below them stood a figure halfway down the staircase. Its silhouette shimmered like static, shifting through multiple forms. Sometimes human, sometimes monstrous, sometimes a cluster of limbs moving in unnatural directions. A voice echoed up the steps. "Ethan!" Nora grabbed his arm. "Keep moving." They ascended faster. The tower groaned around them, the runes brightening with each turn. The air grew warmer. The shard pulsed harder. The weight of the weaver's mind pressed against their thoughts like a giant hand. At last they reached a landing. The staircase opened into a large chamber shaped like an enormous dome. The floor was a mosaic of reflective shards, arranged in swirling patterns that shifted subtly with each step, like ripples on water. Above them, the ceiling showed a swirling void instead of stone. Nora whispered, "Ethan, is that the sky of this place?" Ethan shook his head. "No, it is something worse." The void ceiling pulsed in rhythm with the shard, each pulse revealing faint silhouettes pressing against the inside of the space. Faces, hands, bodies trapped between planes. Nora clutched her chest. "It has taken so many people." Ethan swallowed hard. "And it will take us if we stop." At the center of the chamber stood a monolithic structure, a pedestal carved from a single reflective stone. On its top rested something Ethan recognized immediately: the mirror heart, a circular mirror the size of a dinner plate, cracked down the middle, its surface shimmering with shifting dark reflections. Each reflection showed a different version of Ethan and Nora, some frightened, some wounded, some dead. Nora whispered, "This is it. This is the source." Ethan approached the pedestal slowly. The shard in his hand burned hotter, resonating with the mirror heart. The runes around the room brightened. The void ceiling shook. Nora stepped back. "Ethan, wait. If you break it," he finished the thought, "the weaver dies, and Everything it created dies with it. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. No, the void ceiling split open slightly. A massive eye stared through the crack, its surface trembling with rage. Nora screamed, "Ethan, it is here." The figure from the staircase emerged behind them, now fully formed, a tall shadow with no face, edges flickering like torn fabric in wind. It moved toward Ethan, its limbs reaching. Ethan stepped onto the pedestal. The mirror heart vibrated, sending sharp pain through his skull. His reflection on its surface twisted, showing him standing alone in the void. Nora gone. The world swallowed by darkness. Nora cried, "Ethan, do not touch it." But he knew he had no choice. The Weaver's eye widened. The void roared. The chamber shook violently. Cracks shot across the floor, spilling darkness upward like smoke. Ethan raised the shard. The shadow creature lunged. Nora screamed and jumped between them, swinging a piece of broken reflective stone. The shard's pulse grew deafening. The runes spiraled around them in blinding purple streaks. Ethan slammed the shard into the mirror heart. A sound like the universe shattering filled the chamber. Light dark, bright, impossible erupted in every direction. The void ceiling split wide open. The Weaver's massive form recoiled as the tower screamed. Nora reached for Ethan. The shard melted in his hand. The mirror heart cracked completely, splitting apart. The creature behind them dissolved into dust. The tower began to collapse. Ethan grabbed Nora as the reflective floor shattered beneath them. The world split open. The fall did not kill them. It simply ended. Ethan Cole and Nora Bennett stopped abruptly, as if the void itself caught them in invisible hands. The darkness that had swallowed them moments earlier thinned, revealing a faint, shimmering glow rising around their bodies like dust, illuminated by distant starlight. They floated just above a reflective surface, suspended in a world that looked like an endless ocean made of rippling mirrors. Nora gasped as her feet settled onto the surface. "Ethan, are we alive?" He steadied himself. "I think so, or something close to it." The reflective sea beneath them trembled. Small waves rippled outward from their weight, distorting countless reflections staring back at them. Some were their own, others were not. Faces of strangers, faces of the missing, faces of the dead, all flickering like moth wings against glass. Nora wrapped her arms around herself. "Ethan, all of these faces, are they victims?" Ethan finished quietly. "Everyone the Weaver consumed." A low vibration rolled across the mirrored sea. Ethan felt it through the soles of his shoes. The world was not stable. The destruction of the mirror heart had shaken this place to its foundation. The sky above them flickered between darkness and blinding white. Cracks appeared in midair as though breaking invisible windows. Nora pointed. "Ethan, there." "What is that?" Far ahead, a massive circular formation rose from the reflective sea, a ring-shaped island made entirely of broken mirror shards, towering upward like jagged teeth. In the center of the ring floated a dark sphere, radiating pulses of faint purple energy. Ethan felt the shard's ghostly absence in his hand. It had melted in the moment of the heart's destruction, but its memory still pulsed faintly through the air, guiding him toward the sphere. Nora whispered. Is that the Weaver's core? Ethan nodded. The place where all reflections return. They stepped forward. The mirrored sea reacted instantly. The surface hardened under their feet, forming a solid path of rising plates that aligned themselves like stepping stones. Each step triggered a ripple of distorted reflections. Some whispered, some screamed. Ethan forced himself forward. Nora followed, trembling as they approached the ring-shaped island. The surface of the sphere shifted. It revealed swirling reflections of every room in Ridgeway Heights, the apartment hallway, the stairwell, the basement, the rooftop. Each scene bent and twisted like a living organism remembering itself. Nora spoke softly. Ethan, if the heart is destroyed, what is this? A backup, a final anchor. The Weaver will not die unless this is broken too. A deep cracking sound echoed through the chamber. The mirrored sea split open behind them. From the fissure rose the Weaver's shadow, massive, shapeless, writhing with tendrils of living darkness. Though the heart was gone, its echo lived on. Nora grabbed Ethan's arm. We have to move. Now. They sprinted the rest of the way onto the island. The jagged mirror shards pointed inward like massive teeth surrounding the dark sphere. As Ethan approached, the sphere pulsed with a violent burst of energy, flinging wave after wave of distorted reflections into the air around them. Suddenly, the air filled with images Ethan's childhood, Nora's fears, their memories, twisted versions of themselves. 1,000 reflections whispering different truths. Nora shielded her face. Ethan, it is attacking us with memories. He gritted his teeth. Then we fight through them. From the shards around them, figures emerged, hollow reflections shaped from darkness. Taking physical form, they moved stiffly at first, then faster. Ethan saw his mother among them, reaching with trembling hands. Ethan, let me in. A second figure formed, a dark version of Nora, with eyes like cracked glass. It whispered Nora's name in a dozen broken voices. Nora stumbled backward. Ethan, they are not real. They cannot be real. Ethan pulled her close. They are fragments, nothing more. But the figures advanced. The Weaver's shadow spread across the sky above them, dimming all light. Tendrils plunged toward the island. The entire ring trembled under its weight. Nora shouted, Ethan, what do we do? He stared at the sphere. The last anchor, the last reflection, the final place the Weaver hid its existence. We break it. How? I do not know. But it used reflections to attack us. Maybe we use reflections against it. He lifted a fragment of broken mirror from the ground. The fragment reacted to his touch, glowing faint purple. It pulsed in sync with the sphere. Nora picked up another shard, hers glowing similarly. The dark reflections surged forward, dozens, then hundreds. The Weaver roared through the cracks in the sky. The ring trembled. As tendrils smashed into it, Ethan raised the mirror shard. The sphere responded with a violent pulse that knocked several reflected creatures backward. Nora did the same. The creatures shrieked as the light from the shards cut through them, dissolving their forms into dust. Ethan shouted, Nora, the sphere. Focus on the sphere. Together they aimed their mirror shards at the pulsing core. A beam of concentrated dark light erupted from the sphere. It met the shards midair with a deafening crack. Waves of energy tore across the ring, flinging reflected creatures into the sea. Tendrils of the Weaver recoiled. Nora screamed. "Ethan, it is pushing back." He clenched his jaw. "Then we push harder." They stepped closer. Their reflections multiplied beneath their feet, swirling like a cyclone of fractured realities. Their beams grew stronger. Purple-white energy swirled around them as the sphere cracked. One tendril lashed from above, striking the ground between them. The ring splintered. Nora fell. Ethan dropped to his knees and grabbed her before she slipped into the mirrored sea. Another tendril descended, aiming directly at them. Ethan roared. "Not again, not her." He lifted both shards high, crossing the beams into a single violent pulse. The sphere shattered. Light exploded outward. The entire chamber shook violently. The Weaver screamed, its voice cracking the sky. Its tendrils burned away in the blast. The reflective sea boiled with energy. Nora shielded her face. "Ethan, what is happening?" The chamber collapsed inward. The faces in the mirrored sea dissolved. The sky imploded. The world folded, and everything turned white. White swallowed the world. Not light, not brilliance, but a blank erasure of everything that once had form. Ethan Cole felt weightless, as though his body were made of dust, suspended in a breath that was not his own. His ears rang with silence. His vision burned from the intensity until the whiteness thinned, like fog slowly drifting apart. Shapes returned first, then color, then gravity. Ethan collapsed onto solid ground, coughing violently. His fingers scraped concrete. Concrete, real, cold, familiar. Beneath him lay a cracked gray floor, worn and stained from years of human footsteps. He dragged himself upright and looked around. He knew this place, Ridgeway Heights, but it was wrong. The lobby stood empty, completely empty. The furniture was missing. The walls had no scuffs, no marks, no signs of age. Everything was stripped bare, as though the building had been rebuilt from memory by someone who did not understand its purpose. Nora lay a few feet away, trembling. Ethan crawled to her and pulled her upright. Nora whispered, "Are we alive?" "I think so." The lobby flickered slightly, like a glitch in a video frame. For a moment, the walls dissolved into mirrored plates before snapping back into concrete. Nora gasped, "Ethan, the Weaver. Did we kill it?" He shook his head. "I do not know." He stood slowly. His reflection glinted faintly on the polished floor, a detail he knew was wrong because Ridgeway's floors were never that clean. He stepped back from the reflection. Nora pointed toward the entrance. "Ethan, the doors." The glass entrance doors stood intact again, spotless and clear. No fingerprints, no cracks, no shadow pressing from the other side. But something was wrong. The outside world beyond the doors did not move. Trees stood frozen. Cars sat perfectly still. Even the sky was motionless. Clouds locked in place like a painting. Nora trembled. "Ethan, it is not real." Ethan approached slowly. With each step, His reflection on the glass grew sharper, clearer, too defined. By the time he stood in front of the doors, his reflection no longer moved the same way he did. Nora cried out, "Ethan, step back." He did. His reflection did not. The mirrored double lifted its hand and pressed it against the glass. Its lips parted. Ethan froze. "Ethan, let me in." The voice did not come from the glass. It came from behind him. He spun around. The lobby was empty. Nora clutched his arm. "Ethan, we did not escape. We are still inside its world." Ethan swallowed hard. "No, the heart is gone. The core is destroyed. This cannot be the Weaver's world." But it was not Ridgeway either. It was something in between, a residue, an echo built from fragments of the Weaver's dying consciousness. The floor trembled with a low, distant pulse. The walls rippled like water. The ceiling bowed inward, then outward, as though breathing. Nora whispered, "How do we get out?" Ethan answered with certainty he didn't feel. There must be a final exit, something the Weaver could not erase, even while dying. The lobby flickered again. This time the illusion broke longer. Concrete peeled away into mirrored plates. Reflections warped. Ethan and Nora stood in a half-lobby, half-mirror void. Jagged angles slicing through space. Nora gripped Ethan's wrist. "It is collapsing. We need to move." They ran toward the stairwell door. The metal handle felt warm, too warm. Ethan swung the door open. The stairwell was gone. In its place stood an endless vertical shaft lined with mirrors reflecting upward and downward into infinity. Nora backed away. "Ethan, there is no way out." He shook his head. "There has to be." The mirrors in the shaft began to ripple. Shadows crawled across them from deep within the glass. Shapes emerged, reflections stepping out of their frames. Dozens at first, then hundreds. All were versions of Ethan, versions of Nora, versions twisted by fear or grief or hunger. Some had hollow eyes, some had too many limbs, some smiled too wide. They all whispered the same thing. "Let me in." Ethan grabbed Nora's hand. "Run!" They sprinted down the hall toward the service corridor. The building flickered between real and mirror states, each step shifting the world beneath their feet. Rooms appeared then vanished. Windows melted into walls. Doors reappeared where none had been seconds before. Nora screamed as a reflection lunged from the wall beside her. Ethan yanked her away. The reflection struck the floor and shattered into dust. More crawled out behind it. Ethan shouted, "Nora!" The elevator. "Go!" They ran toward the elevator at the far end of the lobby. The doors slid open before they reached it, revealing a dark shaft inside. No car, only emptiness, but a faint light pulsed far below. Nora hesitated. "Ethan, that is not an exit." He took her hand. "It is the only thing in this place that is not trying to kill us." The reflection surged closer. Ethan and Nora stepped into the shaft and jumped. They fell. Wind tore past them, though there was no air. The shaft narrowed, then widened, then dissolved into nothing. The light grew brighter, swirling around them like a cosmic tunnel. They crashed onto a solid surface. This time it was not a mirrored floor. It was wooden, old wooden boards, cracked and warped, coating a narrow hallway. Ethan groaned and stood. He recognized this place instantly. Nora whispered, "Ethan, This is your childhood home." He nodded slowly. The hallway was perfect in every detail. The peeling wallpaper, the toy truck left beside the stairs, the faint smell of dust and lavender. He shivered. The weaver had reached deep into his memory. Ethan took a step, but froze when a soft thud echoed upstairs. Slow footsteps descended the staircase. The wooden boards creaked with each step. Nora whispered, "Ethan, who is that?" He already knew. A shadow appeared at the top of the stairs. Tall, thin, familiar. A woman stepped down slowly, her movements gentle but wrong. Her face emerged into the dim light. His mother, Nora gasped. "Ethan, she looks real," but she wasn't. Her eyes were empty black pits, her smile too soft, too patient. "Ethan, let me." "Do not say it," Ethan whispered. She tilted her head. "Come here." Nora tightened her grip on Ethan's arm. "Do not go to her. That is not your mother." The woman extended a trembling hand. Ethan felt the world tighten. The hallway warped. The walls curved inward. He stepped forward. Nora shouted, "Ethan, no." He raised a hand. "I know it is not her, but I need to finish this." He approached slowly. His mother's shadow stretched unnaturally across the floor. She whispered, "Let me in." Ethan lifted his hand and exposed his palm. A faint brand glowed there, the mark the shard had left before melting. The purple scar pulsed faintly. His mother's reflection hissed and stepped back. The hallway shook. Mirrors cracked through the wallpaper. Her face twisted into something monstrous. Nora grabbed Ethan's shoulder. "Ethan, the mark. It hurted." He nodded. "This world is built from reflections, and the shard was part of its core. Whatever remains of it is still a weapon." The weaver's voice echoed down the stairs. 1,000 whispers layered together. "You cannot leave." Ethan stepped forward. "Watch me." He pressed his glowing palm against his mother's chest. Light erupted. The hallway shattered into mirrored dust. His mother screamed and dissolved. The world collapsed around them, and Ethan and Nora fell again, this time toward a faint outline of a door floating in the void. A real door, wooden and familiar. Ethan reached for it. The only exit left. The true exit, before the weaver reached them again. The door hung in the void like a memory refusing to die. It floated alone, a wooden rectangle framed by nothing, illuminated only by the fading echo of the shattered mirrored world behind Ethan Cole and Nora Bennett. Darkness swirled beneath them, howling with the dying breath of the weaver. The void trembled, ripping apart in long fractures as if the universe itself were being peeled open. Nora clung to Ethan's arm, her voice shaking. "Ethan, if we go through that door, is it home?" He stared at the wooden frame. He had last seen that exact door when he was 6 years old. His childhood bedroom door, down to the chipped paint on the lower left corner, where he once crashed a toy truck against it. A perfect, impossible recreation. "Maybe," he whispered, "or maybe it is the final trap." The weaver screamed behind them, no longer a voice, not even a monster, just the raw sound of something collapsing into oblivion. Its form had dissolved into a cyclone of shadowed fragments. Tendrils thrashed wildly, tearing apart the reflective world. that had been its domain for centuries. Nora pulled Ethan. "We have no time. If we stay, we fall with it." Ethan tightened his grip on her hand. "Then we choose." Together, they ran. The void bent around them like a living creature. Shards of broken reflections spun violently, each fragment showing a different version of Ridgeway Heights collapsing, floors folding in, windows shrinking, hallways stretching and breaking like taffy. The entire building existed only as scattered memories coming undone. As they sprinted toward the floating door, a tendril of darkness shot upward, lashing toward them. Ethan shoved Nora ahead. "Go! Do not stop!" Nora reached for the doorknob. A second tendril cracked through the air, slamming into the void floor. Ethan stumbled. The ground dissolved beneath him. Nora screamed, "Ethan, grab my hand." He did. Her fingers wrapped around his wrist just as he slid toward the swirling abyss. The Weaver shrieked, a storm of voices merging into one final agonized howl. "Ethan, let me!" The word shattered into static. Ethan roared back. "Die!" He kicked upward with all his strength. Nora pulled. Together they hurled themselves toward the door as the void collapsed behind them. Ethan slammed the knob. The door opened. White light consumed them. For a moment, there was nothing. No pain, no fear, no sound. Then Ethan hit solid ground. He gasped and sat up quickly. Beneath him was carpet, old carpet. The smell of dust and detergent filled his nose. He blinked rapidly as his vision stabilized. He was inside an apartment hallway, a normal one. Lights hummed softly above. The patterned wallpaper was faded but familiar. A breeze drifted under one of the doors, carrying the faint scent of cooking rice. Nora sat beside him, shaking. "Ethan, where are we?" He slowly stood. His chest tightened. His pulse raced. "This is Ridgeway Heights, but earlier, or later, or..." He reached to touch the wall. His hand did not pass through. It was solid, real. The elevator dinged down the hall. Someone stepped out, humming casually. A woman with groceries walked past them without noticing their existence. Nora whispered, "Ethan, are we ghosts?" He shook his head. "No, they see us. We are real." But something was wrong. The hallway looked untouched by the horrors they had endured. No warp marks, no broken mirrors, no missing tenants. It was as if the building had never been consumed, as if none of it had ever happened. Nora pointed at the apartment numbers. "Ethan, look!" Her voice trembled. Every number was wrong. Repeated, scrambled, out of order. Apartment 12A next to 5C, 7F next to 3A. None of the doors aligned with the layout Ethan knew. Nora whispered, "Ethan, this is not our world." A chill slid down Ethan's spine. He turned slowly. At the far end of the hallway, a single door stood slightly ajar. Its number plate was gone. Inside, faint darkness stirred like a sleeping beast. Nora grabbed his shoulder. "Ethan, we need to get out of here." He nodded. "The stairwell. If we find the lobby, maybe." A sudden knock echoed behind them. Knock, knock, knock. Slow, heavy, deliberate. They turned. Halfway down the hallway, the window of the fire escape door trembled. Something hit it from the other side, hard enough to shake dust from the ceiling. Nora stepped back. "Ethan, what is that?" He knew the Weaver was dying, But it was not dead. Something in the mirrored world still clung to them, refusing to fade. Nora whispered, "Ethan, it followed us. A piece of it followed us." The window rattled again. The metal frame bent inward. Shadows crawled across the glass. Nora pulled Ethan's arm. "Stairwell, now!" They ran. The hallway grew longer with every step, stretching like warm wax melting down a wall. Doors shifted, lights flickered. The carpet rippled beneath their feet like skin. Ethan gasped. The building is changing again. They reached the stairwell door. Ethan yanked it open. A rush of real, cold air hit them. Stairs, concrete, metal railings, emergency lighting, everything normal, perfectly normal, too normal. Nora hesitated. "Ethan, touch it." He reached out. His palm rested on metal, solid, real. Nora exhaled. "We are okay." From behind them, the fire escape window cracked, then shattered. A roar filled the hallway, deafening and furious. Nora screamed, "Ethan, go!" They plunged down the stairs. Their footsteps echoed. Ethan counted floors. 13th, 12th, 11th. The building did not warp this time, did not shift, did not change, but something followed them. A scraping like claws dragging through concrete. Nora sobbed as they reached the lobby. The doors stood untouched. Morning sunlight spilled through the glass. Cars moved outside. Wind rustled the trees. The world was real again. Nora whispered, "We made it." Ethan nodded, then froze. On the inside of the glass doors, a single handprint appeared. Dark, elongated. It dragged downward slowly, leaving a smear like ink. Nora backed away. "Ethan, please tell me that is not what I think it is." He swallowed hard. A second handprint appeared beside it, then a third, and a fourth. Nora grabbed him. "Ethan, the weaver is gone. It cannot be here." Ethan stared at the glass. The handprint stopped. Silence. For a moment, hope flickered. Then, knock, knock, knock. From the outside, the edges of the glass window bulged inward. Nora whispered, "Ethan, do not open it. Whatever you do." Her breath caught because a voice slipped through the glass, thin as a thread. "Ethan, let me in." And the door handle twitched. The story ends here. Thank you for watching and listening to the whole story. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to listen to the next stories.